encourage large public gatherings. We're meeting via Zoom. Joining us today to help staff the meeting are Angela Montes, Roundtable Administrative Secretary, Michelle Rodriguez, our new Roundtable Coordinator, Justin Cook, Technical Consultant for HMMH, and Linda Wallen, our Senior Legislative Aide from Supervisor Dave Pine's office. We also have, I did not see Kathleen Wentworth, but I believe she's
on, yeah.
And she's a Senior Advisor to Congressman Jackie Spear. We have from the FAA, Sky Laren, Fabiola Garcia, Don Scott, and Dury Cohen. We have from the Airport Noise Office, Mr. Bert Ganog. And we have Mr. Doug Yako, too. And did I miss somebody from the airport? I'm sorry.
Ivor's here, Ricardo.
Okay, and Ivor Sartor, the airport director. So at this point, I'm going to pass it on to staff so that they can explain how the public can participate in tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Ortiz. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Please note that members of the public must wait for my prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raise hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand for item 3 if you wish to speak on item 5. Written comments that were submitted in advance will be read by me during discussion of the appropriate agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montes. And then we will move on to the roll call, and I believe that's Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. City and County of San Francisco Board of Supervisors. No response. City and County of San Francisco Mayor's Office. No response. City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Ivar Sataro.
Present. San Mateo County Board of Supervisors.
Dave Pine.
Thank you. C and CCAG Airport Land Use Commission. No response.
No, I'm here. I just couldn't unmute fast enough. It's Carol Ford.
Thank you. Thank you. Town of Atherton.
Elizabeth Lewis.
Thank you. City of Belmont.
Davina Hurt, present.
Thank you. City of Brisbane.
Terry O'Connell, present.
Thank you. City of Burlingame.
Ricardo Ortiz, present.
Thank you. City of Daly City. No response. City of Foster City.
Sam Hindi is here, but hasn't been transferred yet.
Sam Hindi, present.
Thank you. The City of Half Moon Bay. No response. City of Hillsborough.
Al Royce, present.
Thank you. City of Menlo Park.
Cecilia Taylor, present.
Thank you. City of Millbrae.
Ann Schneider, present.
Thank you. City of Pacifica.
Mike O'Neill, present.
Thank you. City of Portola Valley.
Ann Wingert, present.
Thank you. City of Redwood City.
Beth Borgens, present.
Thank you. City of San Bruno.
Rico Medina, present.
Thank you. City of San Carlos.
Adam Rack, present.
Thank you. City of San Mateo. No response. City of South San Francisco. No response. Town of Woodside.
Tom Livermore, present.
Thank you. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here tonight and being with us instead of the Vice President debate. So now we'll move on to public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda, and the staff will read any written comments and allow members of the public to speak. So Angela Montes, please.
Thank you, Chair. We are now taking public comment for consent items and items not on the agenda. As a reminder, if you wish to speak on this item, please raise your hand through the Zoom feature. For those joining by phone, please press *9. And Mr. Chairman, we did not receive any written comments, but I will pass on to Janet Lujan, who will be assisting me with spoken comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Janet.
Hello. So we're now opening public comment for items not on the agenda. If you have your raise your hand, I will call for you to unmute your mic. If you're calling by telephone, please press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. I do see Mark Scholl has his hand raised. So Mark, please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes and will be notified when the time ends. Mark?
Hi, thank you. I think as was mentioned in the last meeting or so that the Network Advisory Committee, which sets priorities for Next Gen nationally, met recently. And one of the outcomes of that meeting was to set priorities for the whole of the United States. 4 of those key priority projects are at SFO. Number 1, actually nationally, is to amend the stick and retire offshore. 2 of them relate to arrivals. One is GBAS, the GBAS landing system, which, you know, I really think we need to get into more detail if it's risen to this higher priority for the FAA nationally. Another one is what is called .308 procedures. And without getting too technical, what these are is a way to increase landing rates by using 2 different glide slopes, one steep, one shallow. And where this is problematic, and I've brought this up before, is at least on the industry technical papers related to GBAS, the plan to do these is to keep 28 left, which is close to Foster City and will affect the rest of, you know, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, and others, as low as possible, and then the one in the middle of the bay as high as possible. And I was told, well, this is just, you know, technical papers, nobody's really going to do this. But clearly, one of the projects is, in fact, to do this. It's actually on the 19s, not the 28s, but it's happening. And I think it's something that the Roundtable needs to understand before we go, oh, how did that happen? And to that end, I would suggest that the Roundtable used to have an arrivals working group, a departures working group. We have a ground working group, health, environment. I think we should divide into these and really focus on these issues because they're going to be important. As I say, they are now FAA priorities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other public comments?
I have no more hands raised.
Okay, having none, then we will move on to our to set our agenda and approve the consent calendar. So if anybody, let's see, which includes airport, the consent calendar includes the airport director's report, minutes from the August 5th, 2020 regular meeting, and establishing the regular 2021 roundtable dates. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve items 1, 2, and 3 as described.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the second.
Second by Janet.
So I'm sorry, that was a motion.
I think I said, I think I got it. Yep.
Adam, I'm going to go with
Yeah, I
Adam.
was fast.
Barack, and it was seconded by?
Janet.
So motion by Member Rock, seconded by Member Borgens. No, we will do the roll call, which is what we do these days.
So I had a question, if I may.
Yes, please.
Council, did we have a member of the public that wanted to speak on the director's report? We didn't ask that. We just did oral communications.
I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. We should open that up before to the consent agenda to see if any member of the public wishes to comment or wishes to pull any of the items. So I apologize. So with that, let's open it to any members of the public.
Remember, those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise and unraise your hand. And at the moment, I don't see any hands raised, Chairman Ortiz.
Thank you very much. So with that, we go back to, and thank you, Member O'Connell. That was very wrong of me, so I apologize. So with that, we have a motion on the table by member Rack and seconded by member Borgens. We'll do a roll call, please.
We're going to go ahead and skip the first three who were not present and go right to San Mateo Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
CNCCAG Airport Land Use Commission. Town of Atherton.
Yes.
City of Belmont.
Aye.
City of Brisbane.
Aye.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
City of Daly City. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay. Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae.
Yes.
City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley.
Yes.
The City of Redwood City.
Yes.
City of San Bruno.
Yes.
City of San Carlos.
Yeah.
City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco. Town of Woodside.
Yes.
Your motion passes, Chair.
Great, thank you very much. And with that, we will move on to item number 4, which is my update. And I got to tell you, the number one most important and exciting news for the roundtable is our new coordinator, Michelle Rodriguez. So welcome, Michelle. Very happy to have you. We do have, I think everybody received a communication introducing Michelle. So I'm not going to go into the detail, but let me just tell you a little bit about Michelle. She has a 30-year career with 20 years from municipal governments and 10 years in the private sector, focusing on community planning, economic development, and management. Most recently, she was in consulting with Municipal Resource Group. Prior to that, at the City of San Pablo's Executive Community Development. She comes with a Master's of Urban and Regional Planning from San Jose State University. And I can't tell you how happy I am to have you here, Michelle. So thank you and welcome. But I just want to take a minute to embarrass Linda Wolin because those few months that we were between our coordinators, you did an amazing job. I don't know what we would have done without you. You dealt with some of the issues that have been kind of brushed aside for many years, and you got a lot done in a very short period of time. So thank you, Linda. You've been wonderful. I really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to David Pine, our supervisor, for giving us her, for allowing us to borrow her. So thank you guys. Very exciting to have you already. We can see that we're getting a little more direction, a little more strategy here, and I really appreciate that. With that,
so through the chair, I just wanted to say that Supervisor Pine has always said that Linda is his secret weapon. And I do believe that she is stealthy and she's smart and she's insightful and she really gets the job done. So Linda, kudos to you for keeping the roundtable on track these last few months and for helping us out so much. Appreciate it all.
Thank you, Member Lewis. That was wonderful. So,
you're welcome.
I'm sorry, was there somebody else wanted to say something? No. So,
I think Linda just said you're welcome in a shy way.
Huh? Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to mention, I did receive some communication about monitor methodology and reviewing that and making that an agenda item. I discussed it with staff and what we feel is best handled at a technical working group. And we are also waiting for some of the studies done by the airport to come out before we really dive deep into this. So for the people who brought it up, I think it was more than one person. It's on our radar, and we will be on a technical working group shortly. Give me a second. Vice Mayor, let me finish, and then you can make a comment. Now, the other issue that was brought up was San Mateo County is required to do some Title 21 noise reports. We discussed it a few months ago, and it really didn't go anywhere. So we are going to revisit that, and we're going to add it onto an agenda item, hopefully for the next meeting. If not, then we will schedule it for later. I also want to included in the packet is a registration information for the Aviation Noise and Emissions Symposium. Also, Councilmember Borgens requested further discussion of membership expansion. This item will be placed on the agenda for December 2nd. I know that's near and dear to many of you, so we will add it on. Vice Mayor Schneider, is there something you wanted to say? I think
just
you're
wanted
muted.
to add, because we don't have a ground-based noise update on tonight's agenda. So I did want to say that Linda Woolen and Michelle and I had a really marvelous meeting. We went over ground-based noise. We spent about an hour plus talking about it. I think Michelle's going to be a great new addition to the team. She gets it already. So I'm very excited. Welcome, Michelle. And Linda, again, thank you for everything.
Thank you for that. And with that, does anybody have any questions or any comments on my presentation? And having none, then I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, Dave Pine, I will thrilled that Linda could be of such assistance to the roundtable, and County of San Mateo is happy to have her back working on broader portfolio. But we were thrilled I'm thrilled that she's been helpful, and she'll remain helpful because that's her nature.
Okay, I'm not sure we properly embarrassed her yet, so she's not quite red enough. Yeah, but thanks again. Thank you, Supervisor, for that. That was wonderful. Great. So without any other comments, before I move on, having none, then we will move on to item, actually, do I need to open that to the members of the public for any comments? And nope. Okay, we're moving on to item 5A. There's a presentation by the FAA, so let me give you a little background. The FAA recently launched a noise complaint portal, and we've asked the FAA to give us an overview. I'd like to introduce Fabiola Garcia, FAA Supervising Senior Advisor, who will introduce Derek Cowan, FAA Office of the Environment and Acting Team Lead on the Noise Complaint Initiative, an FAA PowerPoint presentation, a screenshot of the Western Pacific Region Noise Complaint homepage, and an application of noise complaint is included in your packet on page 28. Following the noise complaint portal presentation, Skylar, FAA Community Engagement Officer, will give a brief update on the night hush. So with that, Ms. Fabiola Garcia.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again. It gives me great pleasure to also introduce Dury Cohen. She has been working diligently with our program office on the Noise Complaint Initiative, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her. She happens to be in DC tonight, so she may be signing off soon after her briefing due to the time difference. But thank you for having us, and I'll turn it over to Dury.
Thank you, Bobby. Good evening, Chairperson Ortiz, fellow members, and Bay Area residents. Michelle, do you have the briefing, or do you want me to pull up on my screen? How would you like to do it?
Either. Go ahead, Angela.
Yeah, if you could show it, actually, that would be great.
No problem. Okay, let's see here. Share screen. All right, can everybody see my screen? Make it larger here. So you all can see it.
Yep.
Oops, excuse me. Too soon. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Jury Cowan, and I am with the FAA's Office of the Environment and Energy, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for making time out in your agenda to speak with us tonight. Right off the bat, let me just encourage you all not to leave here with any questions about the noise portal. If I am unable to answer your questions right now, I will take that IOU to get those answers and work those responses back through Sky and Bobby. So this is meant to be an open conversation, and we want to be able to respond to your concerns. With that said, let's begin. Let's see here. So the goal of the noise portal and the overall airport partnering concept is to open those lines of communication among the FAA, airports, and the public. And how we do that is key. We want to respond in a manner that is both effective and clear for the public, and yet efficient and sustainable for the FAA. The noise portal was created in part by pulling together resources from our air traffic organization, environmental and airports divisions, and of course the regional administrators' offices. This allows the agency to efficiently draw from our internal expertise to provide a holistic response to inquiries from the public. So the initiative is in two parts. And this part one is where we are now. We've implemented and improved our response system, which is now the portal, and now we're identifying airports that we hope to partner with, like SFO. The second part of this initiative will identify those actions that we might undertake to address underlying issues raised in many of these inquiries, particularly those regarding performance-based procedures. But to be candid, we're not there yet. This is the second phase, and this is still under development. This slide is meant to give you an idea of how the process works internally. We often compare the noise portal process to building a house, and all structures begin with a good foundation. And in this instance, that foundation would be the office I represent. I'm going to toot our horn for a minute here, the FAA's Office of the Environment and Energy. We're responsible for establishing the noise portal policy, managing the process, and maintaining the database. But I really have to focus on the regional administrators' offices and your CEO. Because unlike this chair that I sit in, which is more nationally focused, it's Raquel, Fabi, and Sky who are more in tune with the needs of the region. This is the front door of our house. These three play a vital role in collecting the right information, coordinating that with FAA resources, and then combining that to provide a response that reflects the mission of the noise portal. And that's to answer every question that is both effective and that it clearly responds to the question, and efficient by coordinating FAA resources to provide that best information in a timely manner. Now that's the internal piece. Externally, this is how the portal works in its most simple form. For example, person A goes to the FAA website. Now hopefully, person A finds all the answers they've ever, to every aviation question they've ever had, and doesn't have to wait for a response. But if not, they can submit their concerns through the portal. It's then routed through the regional administrator's office to the appropriate office or offices and subject matter expert. Responses are then collected from the office or within multiple offices, and then a holistic response is developed by the regional administrator staff and then sent back to person A. Our goal is 2 weeks or less to respond to these complaints, but it really does depend on the complexity of the question or the issues that are raised in the inquiry. Unfortunately, it may take up to 30 days, but we're already seeing that response rate go down as we've implemented the noise portal. In fact, last year, more than half of our responses took 30 days or longer, and that was just unacceptable. So year to date, even with this terrible pandemic we've all been through, we only saw about a 2% reduction in noise complaints. Yet over the course of 2020, as more regions came online and adopted the noise portal, our current rate for responses taking to 30 days is now 12%. So we're encouraged by that number, and we're working to get it even better. We call this a partnering relationship with the airport, but really, I think coordinating may describe it better. The main reason we're reaching out to SFO and other airports across the country is so we can share our data with them. Our privacy policy states that we can't legally share any personally identifying information with airports that haven't agreed to be a partner. So we can only share the complaint with SFO right now. But only sharing that complaint information without sharing that PII, specifically the name and address, makes any response inadequate or incomplete. Because if we think about it, how could we or the airport provide a thoughtful research response if we don't know where you live? or who to send it back to. So that's the reason we're asking airports to partner with us. But we hope to bring some positives to the table too. This slide highlights some of the benefits from us working and coordinating together. And for you all in the roundtable, I really want to highlight that second bullet. I think it's key for residents. More than once, we have seen inquiries that come in and they'll say that Airport X isn't giving more information. But many times, the complainant has inadvertently left out some context or information that caused the airport to respond the way it did. So when we respond with the information we're given, it looks like the FAA and the airport are pointing fingers at each other. Because we both have provided a response that may be technically correct, but if one lacks the full picture and the other lacks context, neither looks credible. And we want to avoid that. We want to stop it. So we want to support the relationships airports have in their communities and with the FAA. And we believe the best way to do that is by working together in this noise portal. And finally, this is an excerpt from our noise complaint policy. We agree that we have a shared responsibility among airports, the airlines, the state and local governments, and the community as it regards noise. We want to address these concerns, again, efficiently and effectively. And we hope that by establishing websites with up-to-date information and addressing the lack of uniformity in our previous noise complaint system, that the noise portal will be a mechanism that will open more lines of communication. So that is the end of my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Why don't we open it up for questions from our the panel? So colleagues, do we have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Member Borges, please.
I'm sorry, I was looking for the hand raised. There it is. I found it. Hand up. Okay.
Oh, I see your hand raised.
Trying to do it the right way here is hard. So thank you for this report, Dury. It sounds good. I do have some questions. So if you go back to that last slide before you went to the questions, I saw a bullet in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not accepting noise complaints or inquiries from third-party automatic applications or devices. And then my next one was the very next bullet that said not responding to the same general complaint or inquiry from the same individual. There are sometimes individuals are impacted throughout the day, and there may be all kinds of complaints. They're suffering daily from this. Why are we including that bullet in there? Why are you not accepting from the same complainant?
Okay, let me break this up just a little bit.
Okay,
so the third-party apps is what we have kind of trying to pull out here, flesh that out. Okay. This is not meant to ignore legitimate concerns by any means. This policy is meant to filter out folks who just kind of want to spam the system. We want to respond in the most efficient manner possible. And we don't believe that answering these spam complaints, it's the same complaint the exact same complaint over and over and over again, sent hundreds, sometimes thousands of times. It's just, at some point, it almost gets to be condescending. We're sending the same complaint, we're sending the same response back over and over again. Now, we don't want to do that. We want to be thoughtful and responsive and actually give a meaningful answer. And so we don't want to delegitimize anyone's concerns by any means. But we also want to take the time to respond to those who take the time to give us a very detailed letter to say that they are being inundated by noise. We want to respond to them. And so that's why we don't do the third-party apps. The other issue about responding over and over again, so I want to clarify that. It's a unique complaint, not a unique household. So one household could send in 10 different complaints and we would respond 10 times. It's the same, it's that same exact verbiage over and over and over and over again that we don't have the resources to respond in that way. So we try to make sure that what we send is a research response that covers the question and answers it holistically.
So thank you for that answer, but then is there an automatic response that goes out that says your complaint has been received? so that people know that they've actually, their response, their concern has been received, because this is this isn't a one-time complaint. This is issues that are going on probably all day throughout the day, and it's causing sleepless nights, it's causing all kinds of health issues, and therefore, to them, to the complainant, it is very serious and very important. I understand that the complexities of how you're trying to respond, and I really respect that. But at the same time, I need to respect those that we hear all the time that come before us with the same complaint, that don't feel like they've been heard, or that there is any reason even to complain because there's no action being taken. So how do the words you use is strengthening relationships, open conversations. How do we convince our residents who are suffering so much that in fact their complaint is being received and is being attended to? What is your mechanism in place for that?
So it is definitely being attended to, and it's definitely being heard. I mean, as you know, this may not be the silver bullet to wipe out everyone's noise concerns. In fact, I know it's probably not.
I know.
However, this is a first step that we're taking in trying to revamp our system. So we may not be where you want us to be just yet, or where you need us to be, but this is our first step in trying to get there.
And I appreciate the first step. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will probably have more questions as you get to the second step. But please do realize that. Yeah, please do, because the complaints we're getting are real, they're impactful, and if you really want to be a partner, as you say, and I feel that you really want to be, we need to bring those voices to the table and know that they're being heard. I want our residents and everyone that's having these issues with noise and life-changing experiences with the noise, that we hear what they're saying, and you hear. So thank you, and I hope we're moving forward, we can go to the next level. Thank you.
So I want to tell you on a personal note, I'm actually not in DC, I'm actually in Atlanta. And so we live 7 miles from the end of the runway. I appreciate the noise issue. I truly do. So I feel
keep that in mind when you
ways.
get woke. Yeah, keep that in mind when you get woke up at 3 in the morning and you have a little kid. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Member Borges. Let's see. Member Schneider has her hand up.
Hi, thank you. Couple of questions. And first of all, I want to say thank you, because SFO is working with our roundtable, and they're working with us with our ground-based noise, the low frequency noise that airplanes and the facility, but airplanes are creating at the ground level. And part of the problem that we've had when we look at the director's noise report is, in the past, it was difficult to equate a noise experience with an actual flight. Will this new FAA portal have that same problem? Or is it not tracking noise to a particular flight, particular airplane?
So it's two different things. So the portal accepts the complaint. What happens on the back end is that it'll be coordinated through our air traffic resources, our operations support groups, and they would have that ability to track that flight to certain airports and to that end. Does that answer your question? It wouldn't be up to the portal. It would be on the back end how we would respond to that.
Possibly. My understanding, and I'm happy for Bert to correct me, is because, let's say an airplane is already at 1,000 feet above and flying over someone, they call in a complaint, they can track that airplane over that house at a particular point in time. However, ground-based noise is coming out the back end of the plane. The plane is never over the people who were complaining about it. So it's been impossible to track the specific flight, especially pre-COVID, when there could be 2 flights leaving on parallel runways within, I don't know, a minute of each other. And because backblast also has a primary and a secondary stronger burst on that. So I live in Millbrae. Millbrae is right within a couple 100 yards of the end of runway 1, left and right, which is about 70 to 75% of the departures. So I've never really wanted to get my residents to I didn't want them to file complaints because they're going to get frustrated because there's no way to fix the problem. But I'm happy if the FAA is looking at how San Francisco is trying to develop a way to track those flights that do not take off or are not above someone's home. And maybe that's going to be what you just told Ms. Morgan, that'll be the next round. But for all of us working on that type of noise, which frankly, that noise does not show up in the contours. So we need a way to make sure that the measurements can be attributed to particular actions. Bert, how did I do? Did I explain that correctly? Or hold on, I've got a couple more questions. The other one, because I actually heard from constituents today, very concerned about the health impacts of noise. So they wanted me to mention for this agenda item, as we are learning through COVID, one's ability to sleep obviously affects one's health, which affects one's susceptibility to not just COVID, but to other illnesses. So I'm hoping that in time, you're going to be addressing the health impacts of what you're picking up in the complaints. And then again, just a request from this ground-based noise committee. If you're aware of other airports that are dealing with ground-based noise, please send them our way. I would love to speak with them.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask, please, let's keep it specific to the portal so we can move along. And so if we have questions that are specific to the portal.
It's my understanding that the portal will not work for ground-based noise. That's what I'm taking away right now.
So the portal is a mechanism. So I'd have to go back and see, but this really is not about necessarily the responses that were given or the analysis. This is more about the intake at this point. This is the collection portion of the, I'm sorry, sir.
I just want to say, so just so I'm clear, we're talking about receiving the complaint. So whether it's ground-based, if it's flying, it's a matter of, this is the portal that receives the complaint. What happens thereafter is still in the works.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Correct.
So again, let's try to keep our questions and comments about the portal. And then we can, in the future, we can ask about what happens beyond that. So right now.
Chair, I'm sorry, but for 5 years, the complaints that are most registered in Millbrae will not show up in the noise reports because they couldn't correlate the incident. So this is about any portal that we are using. So I'm just going to disagree with you on that.
Okay. Member Schneider, what we're being told is the portal will receive the complaint. And that's where we stop because we don't have the rest of the answers. So I'm going to stick with that one, and I'm going with Member Taylor. You have your hand raised.
Thank you. I was a follow-up question from Councilmember Bergens, and that was just, so the complaints, even if they're repeated, will still be captured. That's my only question.
Yes, they are still captured.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you. Now, I don't have any other hands raised from any members. Any other questions from members? And then what I'd like to do now is thank you, Ms. Cowan. Really appreciate the presentation. If you want to stand by, we will have some public comment. But before that, if Mr. Laurent would give us an update on the night hush, and then we can open it to public comment after that.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Perfect. Okay.
Can you just unshare your screen? I'm sorry. Dory. Thank you so much.
Okay. I just want to do a quick brief overview of where we are. So on July 29th, the FAA had our Operations Support Group analysts brief to the SFO Technical Working Group on an increased utilization of the night and hush departure procedures. On August 5th, Chairman Ortiz shared that update with this body here, and today I'm here to let you know that it's still under environmental review, and once that review is completed, it'll be the job of this roundtable and the agency to discuss next steps. So it's very brief, like I had shared with your team. But that's what we have on Night Hush tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. So now we are,
I just see Kathleen's hands raised.
okay, just a moment, because my notes tell me that I'm not supposed to ask Bert to comment. Bert, did you have anything to add on here?
No, I didn't have anything to add, and was not aware you weren't supposed to ask me to comment, but okay.
Hey, I've been married for 30 years. I know how to follow instructions.
Roger that.
So let's see. So with that, I'm going to open it for any questions about the night hush that we have from the members. Kathleen, please go ahead.
Good evening. Hi, Sky. Sky, you mentioned that it's still under environmental review, and then you'll be bringing it back to the roundtable for next steps. Give us some idea of what options might be available to the roundtable during those next steps. Can the roundtable get more information? Can it modify the suggested procedure? Or is it sort of a, I don't know, take it or leave it?
Well, at this point, I'd really, it is how it's currently drawn, because this is a procedure that's already in existence. So it's the environmental reviews on the increased utilization of a procedure that already exists. So.
But Sky, the area past Gobs or in the vicinity of Gobs and south is not the current procedure. So that area should be subject to some discussion, questions?
Yeah, so there will be discussions with congressional folks such as yourself and your bosses, especially if there's any changes in the noise profile as it is currently flown. So all that would be discussed once the environmental review is completed.
And will there be noise modeling as part of that environmental review? And what's the timeline for that?
I don't have a timeline on that, Kathleen.
And Sky, since we last heard from you, and you presented your graphics, which were fantastic, by the way. Thank you for that. Did your team give some thought to looking at other options other than turning short of Gobs and going back over land? Did you consider some of the conversation, and were there other options looked at that point?
Well, I think, as you know, opening something up and kind of tearing it all apart increases this exponentially. We were looking at the specific ask from the original select committee and this roundtable's original ask, and so we were once this environmental review is completed, then we'll know how we can accommodate that or not. So
okay,
more to follow. Thank you.
Thanks, Sky.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Sky. Any other questions? I see my vice chair has a question. Ann, please.
Thank you, Sky and Kathleen. I'm just following on your question because my first and probably largest question was the timing. Just to understand how long we could expect the environmental review to take.
I do not have an answer for you regarding that.
An estimate? A ballpark?
Can't do that, sorry.
Do we have an idea when we might have an idea?
I don't have the information. If I did, I would be providing it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from members? And I don't see any raised hands. So with that, Ms. Montes, we can open it up for public comment.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I'm sorry,
Okay.
I couldn't find it.
Go ahead, member.
So, yeah, thank you. So I want to tag a little bit on what Vice Chair Wenger just said. So Sky, is there an opportunity, if you were to get that information, that you could present it to us through our chair?
Yeah, well, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Bobby, please.
Thank you, Sky. I just want to step in. I think that right now, Sky has really provided all that we can at the time. Truly, the message that we want you to hear is that we continue to work on it. Obviously, there are some things that need to be done, and there's a lot of work that has been delayed due to the situation that we're all living. And so I just would appreciate if you guys can just hold off until we're able to provide a better update. But really, the essence of this message is that we continue to work on the environmental process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see any additional raised hands, so with that, we're going to go to public comment on this item. So Ms. Montes, do we have any raised hands or any written comment?
Thank you, Chairman Ortiz. So we did not receive any written comments for item 5, and I will pass on to Janet for spoken comments.
Thank you, Angela. We're now opening public comment for item number 5. If your hand is raised, your name will be called for this item. I will lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise your hand. And right now, I don't see any hands raised, although earlier I did see a few, so maybe give it a couple seconds to see if anyone wants to speak. Okay, seeing none, Chairman.
Very good. Okay, with that, then thank you very much to the members of the FAA. We look forward to seeing more developments on both these issues and appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Chair Ortiz, I just wanted to point out Ms. O'Connell has her hand raised.
Ms. O'Connell, Member O'Connell, please.
Yes.
I just would like to ask that we had skipped an item on your your report for the Aviation Noise and Emissions Symposium. And if we could go over that very briefly, I would appreciate it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I did mention that, but let me go back. Go ahead, Terry. Do you have the information on it? Would you like to mention it? You're mute. You're mute. You're mute.
I'm trying to keep muted as much as I can. I believe this was just an informational that the Aviation Noise and Emission Symposium for 2021 would be held February 23rd through the 26th, 2021, and registration will open November 1st. It is going to be a virtual symposium, and there's no one-day tickets. So there is a community price of $75 to $150, a government price of $150 to $200, and a general admission from $200 to $250. And I just thought it might be interesting to see if any of our cities wanted to send any of our community as representatives to participate in this, so we can get more community feedback that is well-informed and gives them the opportunity to learn some more about these issues. So I just wanted to put that out there as something that may be of interest to cities to provide this access for some of our community members that are really involved.
Very good. Thank you very much. And I do believe we do have the registration information in our packet. Is that correct? Because I think that's what I mentioned earlier, right?
You do. You did.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Ricardo, I have one question. I'm sorry, I had my hand up, but I've gotten I've gotten a couple of messages that apparently the raised hand portion for the attendees is not working, and there were a couple of people that wanted to speak and have not been able to raise their hand. Could we try that one more time just to see if it works for them, so we can see if they can.
I'm looking right now. There are no raised hands, so if you would like to raise your hand.
I'm sorry about that. Linda Wolin, I'm sorry about that. So Linda Wolin is actually testing, and she is confirming that the hands raised feature is not working. And I'm so sorry. I have no idea why that's happening, but I can try to see if I can look into it. But
Mary Jo's hand came up really quickly and then went back down. So Mary Jo, I don't know if can we unmute her and see if she has a comment? I don't see her anymore now. Where did she go?
Yeah, she's there.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, the hand raise doesn't work. It's unstable. So thank you, Ricardo.
I'm so sorry. We'll try to work around that somehow.
Sure.
So I have two comments on the noise portal. The first one is we don't need another way to report aircraft noise. What matters is fixing the problem. The FAA can mine the tens of millions of complaints to start fixing the problem they created 5 years ago with NextGen. And the number two is don't make it hard for residents to report noise. The FAA proposal feels like voter suppression to reduce complaints. The FAA states that they won't respond to the same general complaint from the same individual more than once. We don't need more FAA responses. We need results. We need less noise. And also, what does this mean? You complain once in your lifetime about NextGen. In my case, pre-COVID, I had 200 plus noisy aircraft every 24 hours. Should I file one general complaint for over 200 planes once? And also, few people will fill out this form because it is too time consuming. The FAA directs the public to a PDF to review the FAA noise complaint and inquiry policy. Seriously, what will I do when I have planes every 60 or 90 seconds apart? Do I stop everything and do non-stop reporting? How about at night? I guess the point is to make it really difficult for the public to report noise. Some people have said that stop-jet noise makes it too easy to report noise. Really? Is the goal to make noise reporting difficult? This FAA proposal will suppress complaints. Complaints will go down, and this will allow the FAA to claim progress or even problem solve. So I would like to ask this roundtable for two things. Number one, ask SFO to keep processing and reporting all the noise complaints they receive, including from stop-jet noise. We can't lose the historical reporting we have since NextGen started. And note that MIT has correlated complaints with periods of high flight intensity, and that complaints went down with COVID. And number two request, ask the FAA to accept and recognize the SFO noise complaints data. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, so let's do this. Can we have any participants email us to let us know that they have their hand raised? Would that work? Member Borgens, did you have other names that were looking to speak?
I did, and I just heard that there were two. Mary Jo was one of them, and I don't know who the second one was, unless that second person wanted to start talking.
One was Peter Grace as well. I noticed.
Peter
Let's
Grace.
open up for Mr. Grace. So, Mr. Grace, if you could go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Peter Grace. We currently have a robust and user-friendly noise complaint process through Stop Jet Noise webpage, which Bert has told us receives over 95% of the SFO complaints. Does this mean that the noise complaints through Stop Jet Noise will not be accepted at SFO? Thank you.
Mr. Grace, we will try to get you an answer to that question. Angela, we'll move along. Now,
I also did see earlier Mark Scholl's hands raised, so I'm going to ask him to unmute his microphone.
Before, can you, if it's possible, if the speakers could remind us what town they're calling from, it'd just be helpful to put some context around.
Yes, thank you so much.
That's correct. That's helpful, yes. So, Mr. Scholl, I think it looks like he's still muted, Angela. On my list, he looks like he's still muted.
While he's muted, I'll just, for Mr. Rack's sake, Peter Grace is from Brisbane, and I believe Mary Jo is from Palo Alto.
Thank you.
So, Angela, were you able to unmute Mr. Scholl?
Yeah, I'm sending him the request. He should be receiving something.
I apologize for the technical difficulty.
I'm so sorry, yeah.
We will work around them.
It happens.
So, Mr. Scholl, you should be receiving a notice on your screen asking you to unmute. And so you'll have to accept the unmute to speak.
And anybody else who wishes to speak that we have not called them, please send us an email, and so that one of us can see that you're trying to call in.
And while we're waiting for him to unmute, this is Member Borgens. Is there an opportunity to get an answer to the questions that they are asking, or will we be able to provide those later?
We
Like
will
the question that was direct, okay.
We will send them a request and ask them. We will have answers in our next meeting.
Yeah, Mark, I'm not sure, but we did send you a request to unmute your microphone, and you should be getting that. So unfortunately, if you are not getting that, we're going to move along.
Okay. Is anybody else? Did we get any emails? I don't see any in my box of any requests. So I'm going to assume that those are all the public comments. And Mr. Scholl, if you're able to connect, then we could let you make a comment a little later in the agenda. So again, apologize for the technical difficulties. This is
I did get an email from Liz Lopez. So I'm going to allow her to speak. Give me 1 second.
Very good.
Just confirming the email that we would be looking at is Roundtable, the Roundtable email at SFO Roundtable. Can you give us that email?
info@sforoundtable.org.
And I believe
And Liz,
unmuted.
Yes, thank you. I just unmuted myself. So currently when San Francisco community members have emailed our ombudsman, the community has only received the same exact generic email message. And this was up to just a couple days ago. So my question really is, the community seems a little bit confused about where to, submit complaints right now. So if they're sending it to their ombudsman or to the incorrect place, are their questions or complaints going to be forwarded to the noise portal? Will they receive an email that directs them to the appropriate place? Because I heard from one woman who I believe was directed somewhere and it led her to nowhere. It didn't lead her to the right place. And also, I just want to confirm that this is noise.faa.gov is the noise portal site. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it. Do we have any others? Do you have any emails?
I do not have any more emails.
And then we will have a list of these questions that were submitted to the FAA. Hopefully we'll have answers for our next meeting and we'll be able to report back. So this would be the end of this segment. We'll move on to item number 6, which is a report from the San Francisco Airport Commission. Mr. Ivor Sotero, Airport Director. So we're all ready for you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chair Ortiz. Good evening, everyone. Couple updates on COVID-19 and related to our passenger activity. We continue to be about 80% below where we were this time about a year ago. From an operations perspective, meaning number of flights, we're at about a 42% of where we are a year ago. And so there's not a linear correlation. The flights are just a lot emptier than they were a year ago. Load factors are in the 40 to 50%. A year ago, they were more about 80, 85%. There's a new airline launch. Qatar Airways will be flying nonstop SFO to Doha. They'll be flying 4 flights a week. Airbus A350 starting December 15th. Departing or arriving at 11:55 a.m. And departing, 12:55 p.m. and departing at right around 3 o'clock, I believe, in the afternoon. We've launched an on-site COVID-19 testing facility at SFO. We initially launched to test our employees and ensure a healthful work environment for all airport employees. We are expanding that and using that for passenger testing. Many of you may have heard about different pilots around the avoidance of quarantines in certain countries if you have the verification that you are COVID-free. So we're doing some piloting of that and using our testing facility. United is piloting flights to Germany and Tahiti, as well as there will be some flights to Hawaii starting up in mid-October And the state of Hawaii is requiring a negative COVID test to avoid the 14-day quarantine. So we're looking at different pilots like this, working with different airports at how we could resume some travel, help resume travel with these safe corridors, both with airports cooperating with testing, highly hygienic operations at their airports, as well as airline partners that commit to healthful, hygienic experiences on their aircraft as well. Runway construction starting tomorrow. We will be closing 28 right, and we'll be doing a repaving of where it intersects with one left and one right. That'll be an 8-day closure, and that'll allow us during these periods of low air flight activity to get this work done without major impacts. And we don't expect that it's going to impact the times of arrivals to any kind of significant degree into SFO or significant departure delays. An update on our noise insulation program, on our Second Chance program. We're bidding the first group of homes. The bids are due. I think they were due last week, actually, and we expect to award in early November. We will begin construction of the first 40 properties in the spring. And right after that, we'll follow with a second group of 35 homes to begin construction in the summer. And then we are starting outreach to a third group of 55 homes now as well. So we have a stream of homes that will be eligible for this program, and we will continue to work through these and go off of the list of folks that have applied for that. For the replacement initiative, we have currently about 30 homeowners that we're reviewing replacement options with this month. We expect to have a contract by December and begin those repairs and reconstruction in January. There's about 175 additional properties that we will also be looking at accelerating construction for next summer. And basically, I put another team to be able to add capacity to get more homes done in a shorter time frame. GBAS status, I know we're going to have a presentation later on tonight. I think it's both a refresher on the subject of GBAS along with what the schedule looks like. And, you know, I want to reiterate the commitment we made originally with GBAS that we are hopeful that this will have community benefit. And as we study these procedures, if we find a procedure that has a negative impact on the community, we won't pursue that particular procedure any further. And then portable noise monitoring. We have portables deployed in Pacifica, Palo Alto, and East Palo Alto. And I think we've relocated the monitor from East Palo Alto, or we'll be doing that shortly, to Menlo Park. And I believe we've identified a location for that as well in coordination with the mayor's office of Menlo Park. And I want to say that, you know, we are very much impacted financially by what is going on as an airport, but we still are going to maintain our commitment to these community initiatives around the insulation program and around GBAS. And so we're managing through, we're taking a number of different initiatives. We've done a lot of cost cutting. I'm suspending about $2 billion in capital programs, really reflecting the reduction in the number of passengers at SFO. It just doesn't make sense to proceed with certain projects that add terminal space that may not be needed for several years. And so we're pulling back on our capital program fairly significantly and continuing to just look at all the avenues for cost reduction and financial restructurings and things like that. And we've been fairly successful recently with some refinancings and restructurings that are saving us quite a bit in our debt portfolio. But just to reassure everyone that we're going to continue to invest in our community initiatives because that's important to us as well. Thanks. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Let me get unmuted first. Thank you very much. That was very nice. And members, do we have any questions for the airport director? And I'm trying to see. I do have two raised hands. Member Schneider, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Director Sotero, a couple of questions from my city manager. I think you answered it. With the pullback of the capital programs, SFO had released that notice of projects. Are you what's the timeline for the EIR for the new terminal and any other terminal changes that we're trying to make sure that we stay on track to comment on?
I believe you're talking about the airport development plan, and we're continuing with the EIR process on the longer range development plan. This is beyond the current $7.4 billion program. And so we're continuing with that process and enabling projects and the environmental review. I don't know what the next steps are. We'd be glad to, if you contact our office, be glad to provide you a timeline.
That would be lovely. You know, like you, we're going to have to be watching our staffing time and making sure that we can adequately respond to that EIR is really important. So thank you for that. And another kind of dumb question. You said that we're at 80 below where we were a year ago, and flights are at 40 to 50% of capacity. You were talking about passenger and cargo, or the number of flights are at 40 to 50% of what they used to be? I'm just trying to, I have to report back to my city manager, so I'm trying to get it straight.
Apologies. We are 80% down in enplanements, so passengers. We're 45%, 50% down in actual flight activity. So we have about 600 flights a day versus last year at this time was about 1,100 to 1,200. But our passengers are more like, we're at about 15,000, which last year at this time was about 75 to 80,000. So that's the correlation there.
Well, thank you for that, because to me it sounds like there are more planes taking off. So we're thinking, oh, things are getting a little bit better on that side. Of course, the noise side. And then my last question, you had mentioned the rebuild. Hold on, looking for your replacement. There are only 3 homes in Millbrae that fall within the insulation program boundaries. There are homes that were very close to the airport that were redone back in the late 80s or early 90s. Those windows no longer open. Do those homes qualify or not qualify? I actually have residents who are afraid that if there were a fire, and we had a grass fire in this neighborhood a few months ago, close to evacuation, but they're afraid they can't get out of their homes.
If those homes are still within the 65 CNEL, they would qualify.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're just outside it. They're all on Cuarto, and they're some of our older residents who said, we don't even have the strength to break through the glass should it be. Okay, we'll bring that back for ground-based noise then. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Member Schneider, and we'll move on to Member Borgens, please.
Thank you, Director Sotero. I want to thank you for your report and the statement that you just made that said, if we find a negative impact on community, we will not continue moving forward. Thank you. That is appreciative because it shows that you are listening to the community, and it may not solve a lot of our noise problems, but it shows an understanding and a partnership. And I just want to say I appreciate that. So I know it's a hard time. I hate to see I hate to see the noise at the planes and the destruction it's causing to our people on the ground, but I understand commerce is an important part of our economy and our existence. And so this whole COVID thing has got us all turned upside down. So in these difficult times, you identified with a need in the community. And I just want to say thank you, because I can be the first one to give you heck when I need to. So thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to Member Pine, Mr. Supervisor. You're muted, Dave.
However, I also wanted to thank you for your commitment to the community initiatives, particularly the noise installation. It's interesting to hear that we have a new contractor. Maybe we can learn more about that offline. But that program really makes a big difference to the community, and thank you for your ongoing commitment to it.
Thank you, Supervisor Pine, and I don't see any other raised hands. There's any other questions from our members? And having none, we will move on to public comment. Ms. Montes?
Thank you, Chair. We did not receive any written comments for this item, and we are still having some issues with the raise hand feature. So as of right now, we don't have any hands raised, and I have not received any emails for this item.
Okay, just because of the technical difficulties, I'm going to give them just a minute. Wait for it. Okay, so then we will assume there are no public comments, and we will thank you, Mr. Director. Appreciate your comments, and we will move on to the next item, which is a presentation by Mr. Bergenog from the noise office, is regarding GBAS and the new noise application.
Mr. Chair, if I may quickly too, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Doug Yakel. It's my 26th wedding anniversary today, and so I'd like to spend the rest of my evening with my wife. So
very good.
Thanks so much, everyone.
I think we all know Doug, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary, Ivar.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Gonna hand over to Doug Yakel, who actually has a video of our next presentation on GBAS teed up, I believe.
Thank you for the opportunity to present this update on the Ground-Based Augmentation System project here at SFO. During tonight's discussion, I'd like to start with a quick overview of what a ground-based augmentation system is, followed by a few moments reviewing the progress we've made on the GBAS project to date. Finally, we would like to discuss our plan to work directly with the Roundtable, Technical Working Group, and residents of the Bay Area to gather feedback about the initial group of innovative GBAS approach procedures prior to any FAA development efforts. But first, a quick refresher on what we refer to as a GBAS. The San Francisco International Airport has purchased a Honeywell SLS 4000 ground-based augmentation system. This GBAS consists of 4 GPS receivers and 1 VHF data broadcast transmitter. A carefully installed GBAS receives information from the current GPS satellite constellation about its location and the navigable airspace in the vicinity of the airport. The GBAS then broadcasts enhanced position information to augment an aircraft's existing navigational accuracy, creating a precision approach path to follow. One GBAS is capable of supporting up to 48 unique GBAS landing system approaches, known as GLS. This means that a single GBAS can support precision approach paths to multiple runways, and it can support multiple precision approach paths to a single runway. Aircraft that are equipped with GBAS receiving technology, which are operated by trained flight crews, can request a GLS approach from air traffic, tune into the GBAS transmission, and either permit the autopilot to fly the aircraft to the touchdown point on the runway, or manually follow the flight director guidance like a typical ILS approach. At the moment, ground-based augmentation systems in the United States are limited to supporting only instrument approach procedures and, more specifically, only the final approach segment. This limits the direct influence of the GBAS on an aircraft approaching the airport to an area roughly 5 to 10 nautical miles from the end of the runway. However, as you will learn in a few moments, there are certain portions of the approach procedures which can be increased in height to support the final approach that will achieve our project goals. As a reminder, the GBAS project here at San Francisco has 4 primary goals. The first and perhaps most important goal of the GBAS project is to reduce noise impact to the community. This can be directly achieved through portions of the GLS approach procedures that can be adjusted upwards, bringing aircraft to the runway at a steeper angle. This goal can also be achieved through modifications to other portions of the instrument approach that link up to the GBAS augmented section, enabling higher altitudes above residential areas and more opportunities for overwater maneuvering. The second goal of the GBAS project is to create a redundant ILS capability for the airport. The GBAS will deliver ILS Category 1 and in the future Category 2 capabilities on the 3 runways where an ILS is currently installed, while also enabling ILS-like approaches to 3 additional runways that have never had access to ILS before. The third goal of the GBAS project is to enhance the efficiency of operations. This will be achieved by creating GLS approach procedures which more accurately reflect optimized aircraft descent profiles along with some limited opportunities to engage in new, shorter approach paths to the runways. This will result in reduced fuel burn and greenhouse gas emissions when compared to the existing approaches. The fourth goal of the GBAS project is to reduce delays. This can be achieved by the expansion of current air traffic initiatives to incorporate GLS approaches into the closely spaced parallel runway operations, or CASPR, on both runways 28 left and 28 right during normal operations, and on runways 19 left and 19 right when the airport experiences southeast flow. As an example of how GLS approaches can achieve our project goals, it can be useful to look at the range of vertical profiles that are possible with a GBAS. The image on the screen shows the existing ILS approach profile using the black dashed line. The green area above the black dashed line shows the region of GLS approach possibilities that exist thanks to steeper approach angles, higher altitudes used in preceding segments of the approach, and even alternate landing points that a GBAS is capable of supporting. The San Francisco International GBAS project team is committed to working with all stakeholders, including members of the community, to achieve GLS approaches that safely maximize the extent of the green envelope with the goal of increasing the height of aircraft above residential areas for noise reduction. However, our current exploration into GLS approach procedures at the airport has uncovered certain constraints that will limit the short-term ability to achieve the maximum vertical capabilities of the GBAS. Some of these limitations are related to current FAA instrument procedure design criteria, while others are limited by the maximum angle that can be safely used by an aircraft autopilot system. Most importantly, the GBAS project team, which has been working in close coordination with representatives from the Air Traffic Control Tower and Northern California TRACON, have learned that the initial GLS approaches under consideration must respect existing airspace constraints, clearance areas, and they must connect to existing standard terminal arrivals, or STARs. In addition to limitations on the vertical capabilities of GLS approaches, there are other constraints regarding the paths that can be developed to connect to GLS approaches in the Bay Area for implementation in the next 5 years. While the technical subcommittees have found the means to develop GLS approaches that closely match existing air traffic corridors, in particular over the Bay, the ability to consider broader changes to the airspace were not available for consideration as it relates to the GBAS project. It is within these airspace, procedural, and flight operations constraints that the project team is preparing to work with members of this roundtable and the community to review innovative GLS approach procedures which we believe can meet our project goals. We'd now like to take a few moments to bring you up to speed on the latest developments from the GBAS project. As you may have learned from previous updates, the airport has awarded the contract to Honeywell International for the SLS 4000 system with the SBAS module in June of this year. That contract award includes ongoing maintenance for the SLS 4000, which must be performed by the airport and its supporting vendors as a part of the non-federal NAVAID program. The airport is currently receiving bids for the installation of the GBAS antennas, shelter, and supporting electrical and communication infrastructure necessary for commissioning and operation of the GBAS in October of 2021. We currently anticipate work to begin at the site location on the airfield in the first quarter of next year. In addition to the contract with Honeywell, the GBAS project team has been hard at work creating innovative approach procedure concepts for evaluation with members of the community within the previously discussed constraints. That process initially generated 22 innovative approach procedure concepts, of which just 7 candidates are mature enough to take forward. The project team has also had the opportunity to update the noise analysis related to each of the 7 GLS approaches to take advantage of the latest FAA-approved Aviation Environmental Design Tool, AEDT, version 3C, coupled with direct insight from our airline participants about the way they anticipate their flight crews to utilize the GLS approaches. And while it comes as no surprise that many of the major domestic airlines serving the San Francisco International Airport are eager to take advantage of the GBAS, The project team was excited to welcome Southwest Airlines into our technical evaluation subcommittee following their announcement to pursue fleet-wide GBAS receivers and GLS approach operations starting in the summer of 2019. While it has been several years of hard work behind the scenes preparing the best conceptual innovative GLS approaches for review with the community, we would like to take this opportunity to reaffirm two fundamental commitments associated with the GBAS project. First, SFO is committed to the purchase, commissioning, and operation of this airport-owned NavAid in accordance with the FAA non-federal NavAid program. To be clear, while a ground-based augmentation system is considered to be a part of the future performance-based navigational capabilities in the National Airspace System, the FAA does not provide any funding to the airport for its design, purchase, or operation. Second, SFO is committed to reviewing proposed GLS approach procedures with the community before requesting their development by the FAA. This will be an ongoing commitment to ensure that any GLS procedure that appears to have a negative community impact is not pursued. We also want to affirm that the airport will closely monitor the operational use of any GLS approach procedures that are ultimately published by the FAA to analyze and report on how closely the predicted noise exposure matches real-world flight operations. If, in the future, a proposed GLS approach procedure exhibits negative community impact, then the airport will take steps to disable and/or alter the approach. For a little more insight on how we plan to work with the Roundtable to evaluate innovative GLS approach procedure concepts, I would like to review the current timeline for instrument procedure development, including our community evaluation and feedback process. The GBAS project team here at the airport has been working with technical airspace and procedure stakeholders to identify innovative GLS approach concepts that may best meet our project goals. These procedures, the criteria used to design them, and the initial noise evaluation analysis will be shared with the Roundtable and Technical Working Group this month. Once we've had an opportunity to review the current innovative GLS approach concepts with members of this Roundtable, the GBAS project team at SFO will compile information on each of the procedures into what we term a Community Flight Procedure Package, which will be made available on the FlySFO website under the GBAS section. Once these CFPPs are uploaded to the website, we will begin a 45-day period through the months of November and December this year to gather feedback, questions, comments, and suggestions via both the website and email. After the 45-day period has elapsed, the GBAS project team will compile public responses and work with the Roundtable and Technical Working Group to identify any negative feedback. In cases where minor modifications to the innovative GLS approach procedures may resolve public concerns, then those procedures will be modified by the GBAS project team and resubmitted for public comment via an updated Community Flight Procedure Package. If there are procedures that have significant negative feedback or will need to be modified in ways that are beyond our short-term project constraints, then those procedures will be removed from future development. Only those procedures that appear to be acceptable to the community will be submitted by the airport to the FAA for the formal instrument procedure development process to begin. During the traditional instrument procedure development process, the FAA will typically begin an initial procedure design phase that culminates in an environmental screening process. The results of this screening process often result in a categorical exclusion, or CADEX, especially for approaches that exist in areas where extensive amounts of air traffic already operate, or if the approaches are at or above existing approach, departure, or arrival procedures. Regardless of whether the results of the FAA noise screening result in a CADEX, an environmental assessment, or an environmental impact statement, the FAA will review their findings with the airport, the project team, and the Roundtable. Only those procedures that indicate towards a CADEX are anticipated to proceed for the remainder of FAA development, but the final decision on this will not be made until after reviewing with this roundtable. For those innovative GLS approach procedures that still look likely to meet our project goals, the remaining FAA procedure development process will unfold, lasting until likely late 2022 or possibly 2023, depending on when the request is made and when the COVID-19 related backlog can permit the procedures to be published. We've presented a lot of information here this evening related to the current status of the Ground-Based Augmentation System project at SFO, and there is still more information that we would like to review with the technical working group at the next available meeting. With the permission of the Roundtable and the technical working group, we therefore would like to request to speak about the GBAS project relative to the 5 items you see on the screen before you, with the goal of ensuring that our community flight procedure packages and plan for community outreach will enable the residents of the Bay Area to provide meaningful feedback about the innovative GLS approach procedures. That's all we have prepared for tonight's update on the GBAS project. We would now like to make our GBAS project team representatives available for questions.
Excellent. Bert, would you like to talk about the other thing I had is the new noise application? Do you want to talk about that one before you take questions? Or do you want to take questions separately?
At this time, I think we should actually take the questions on GBAS since we're...
Very good. So members, I'm opening it up for questions to the airport staff about GBAS, and I see a member, Hurt, is my first one.
Thank you, Chair. I am newer to this group, so hopefully this question isn't too painful for everybody. I'm curious whether there's been any type of environmental justice analysis to GBAS being put online here, and if there's any talk within the technical group about disproportionate impact on communities, in particular communities of color and low-income communities that are right around the airport.
The softball, Bert.
I'll take that one. I apologize that I'm not familiar with some of the metrics that you're referring to. I think one of the things that we want to be clear on with this system is that this is a landing system only. In other words, this will only offer a potential benefit in areas where aircraft fly over a community to land. So communities that are affected by departing traffic will experience no benefit from this GBAS. This is really for areas that lie along the flight path for landing of aircraft. And really what we're going to be looking at in the analysis here is noise analysis. So we're not doing any type of economic analysis related to this. This is really looking at does this have a potential noise benefit over the communities where aircraft come to land at SFO.
So just to thank you for that explanation. With environmental justice, there is there is a noise analysis that goes along with that. It's not just an economic topic, and I would hope that that analysis happens as it relates to noise. It sounds like maybe it hasn't because of us talking about two different definitions here. I think I need to do a little more research on my end, and I hope you all do too. So the next time I ask this question, you can express better what environmental justice analysis you've done as it relates to this system going online.
We do have the presentation you just heard came from Paul Hanna, and he is on the line, and he could probably speak a little bit to what metrics we do look at when we're analyzing some of these innovative procedures. Paul, if you wanted to speak to that a little bit.
Hi, Doug, and good evening, folks joining us here. So hopefully you can hear me okay. The process up to this point has focused primarily on the noise analysis, which is the traditional method utilized for FAA procedure development. And I don't want to mix terms here. So this is what we've been describing tonight is an airport-led instrument procedure development and consideration phase before the FAA begins its formal instrument procedure development process. So what we've been trying to do is get as much feedback as we can from the technical perspective first to make sure that what we put in front of the community can in fact be flown the way that we anticipate. And then present our, at a minimum, kind of noise analysis about where we think single event noise contours might be exposed in terms of the residents of the Bay Area. One of the really critical aspects for us here is that the current FA instrument procedure development process may have some environmental justice analysis associated with it, but I think our initial attempts to get close to that analysis is going to rely on the community feedback process, by which we put these CFPPs, or the community flight procedure packages that I've described, out there. We have maps depicting where each of the contours are going to be located, and then we would like to get that feedback from either folks participating here or directly from residents, because that may inform further analysis along the lines of what you're describing. But our starting point, at least to help inform the residents about where we think these impacts might occur, is to use the single event noise first and foremost.
So can I ask a question as a follow-up to Member Hurd? What we're saying is we have a process for these procedures, any changes that we're going to have, where there'll be plenty of opportunity for public input, so that if there's any perception of equity, of inequity, shall I say, we can bring them up at that point. So we will have plenty of opportunity before these are done, Member Hurd. So stand by, pay attention. Okay, so I'm going to go with.
Will do.
Okay, Member Borgens, if you could.
Thank you. I had a question on one of the slides, and forgive me if I misinterpreted it, but am I understanding that the flight height adjustments that could have a more positive noise result are not feasible? Did I read that chart correctly?
So if you allow me to answer that directly, so you are interpreting that correctly. The GVAS and GLS approaches that the GVAS supports is capable of creating steeper approach paths and higher approach altitudes behind that steeper approach path than what we can achieve in the short term for this GVAS project. And one of the things I didn't mention tonight in our previous update video is that we're really looking at kind of two groups of innovative procedures. The first group of innovative procedures are the ones that we know we have the highest likelihood of getting achieved in the next 5 years. That's the 7 candidates that I referred to. However, the entire extent of that green array, some of those were part of that larger group of 22 procedures that we listed in the presentation. And while we are not going to push forward with those procedures at this time for development by the FAA, partly because we can't, some of them are so steep that current design criteria, they would be blocked as soon as they go into the National Flight Procedure Review process, and they just hand it back and say, I'm sorry, we don't have criteria for that. But there are others where we're very close, and we don't want to lose track of them. So the airport and the GVAS project team are going to keep those procedures and wait for the next best time to basically come out with more innovative procedures that we feel meet the best opportunity for noise reduction, if it's possible. And just if I could follow on really quickly, one example is that the possibility to aim further down the runway with a GVAS. So as an example, an ILS today, you've got to follow a fixed beam, that's it. You take it where it leads you, and it leads you to the end of the runway. A GVAS, the technology has the capability to allow aircraft to aim to different points on the runway, or the simplest way to think about it is one better point on the runway from a simplification standpoint. Internationally, this is being shown to be successful, especially in Europe with a GVAS right now. Like there's operational data coming out saying this can be done. Unfortunately, it's very cutting edge, and for an FAA-developed procedure, there has to be robust criteria, not only from the flight procedure, but also from the airport lighting and marking about how we want to do that safely. So in the next 5 years, we probably can't achieve that goal, but maybe 7 years, 10 years, you can rest assured that the project team will come right back and find the opportunity to request those more innovative procedures at that time.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move on to Member Hindi.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz, and thank you, SFO, for this presentation. and more importantly, really, for your commitment to seek community input and feedback and adjust the potential procedures accordingly. As a point of clarification, those adjustments to the procedures, those are all will happen prior to submittal to FAA. Once they get submitted to the FAA, then nothing really could be changed. We know the FAA timeline to change their procedure is almost impossible. Is that correct? I see you nodding head, but it seems like that is correct.
Yeah, that's correct. And that is the goal, is to get these modified in advance. But you heard Paul say in his presentation as well that even once a procedure is published, obviously these are going to be thoroughly vetted, thoroughly tested, but there's no substitute for reality. And if real world operations reveal something that hadn't previously been surfaced, we'll still have the opportunity to modify or discontinue altogether a procedure.
Great, thank you. And then my second question, what kind of raised concerns for me, perhaps you could elaborate on. You had mentioned one of the goals is to have shorter paths. And typically for me, that almost immediately comes to my head, shorter path meaning more noise, because usually shorter paths will go over residential places. Could you expand a little bit on that? How would you accomplish that?
Absolutely, and I absolutely understand your concern, because in other airports and certain next-gen projects that has happened. For this particular project with the GBAS implementation, the shorter paths that we have discovered so far involve overwater portions. So one of the approach procedures which we, I think, initially put in front of the technical working group, the Roundtable technical working group back almost 2 years ago now, involved what we call the Bodega East arrival, in which we're going to be given the opportunity to create an instrument approach that brings aircraft primarily over the bay for most of the approach procedure, and then turns them in on a shorter final to make a safe landing on runway 28 right. So in that sense, the shorter track miles will basically be achieved over water. There's one other procedure that has the possibility for a shorter track mile, which we'd love to discuss in more detail for the technical working group, but I'll just give you a quick snippet here. There's a current procedure today called the FMS Bridge Visual, which is a heavily used procedure today. However, it is not an FAA published procedure. It is something used by participating airlines. And the project team here at the airport has been given the opportunity to try to convert that non-FAA procedure into a GLS procedure, which does result in some shorter track miles depending on the direction that you're coming in, primarily on the overwater segments. But it is, again, our goal to make sure that we, as accurately as we can, express these in those community flight procedure packages, and let yourself and other members of this roundtable and the residents measure and give us feedback themselves. Because it's one thing for me to tell you, but it's another thing to have the map and have the points and plot it out and verify themselves.
Thank you, Paul. That's very helpful. I'm very familiar with both procedures that you had mentioned, and that would be fantastic if those could be achieved through the GBAS. So thank you.
Great, thank you for the comments. Member Schneider, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand raised.
And unmute myself there. I do. Mr. Hanna, I have about 5 fairly quick, simple questions. Number one, as GBAS has been brought to us, it's really only been looking at runway 28 arrivals. Are the 7 procedures out of the 22 all runway 28 arrivals?
Great question. Right now, the 7 procedures focus on 28 left, 28 right, and 10 left and 10 right. The 4 overlay approach procedures, which you can see in the instrument flight procedure gateway today, those are the ones that I think we reviewed with the roundtable maybe 2 years ago. Those are the overlay procedures of existing RNAV GPS procedures to 28 left, 28 right, 19 left, and 19 right. And just to elaborate, I know you mentioned it was a quick question, but I'd like to take a slightly longer answer if it's okay. We at one time had innovative procedures to the 19s, but using our terminology, where we were trying to find alternative paths, again, to keep the aircraft over water as much as possible to bring them into the 19s. we ran into some very significant constraints in that area that prevented our short-term ability to implement those innovative procedures. So most of the procedures that we're getting ready to put out for the community to review are 2.8 left. And just to be very specific, many of them are 2.8 right oriented, where we're trying to find a lot more opportunities to get aircraft out over the water a little higher, keep them higher longer, get them out over the water, and then bring them in at steeper paths and really encourage our capable air carriers to take that path.
Okay, and just a tiny follow-up then. None of these procedures are runway 1 left or right arrivals.
That is correct. Current design criteria prevents us from being able to develop GLS approach procedures to the ones.
Okay. Thank you. Another question then, because you talked about ILS to 3 additional runways. Is that what you meant by 10 left and right and 19 left right? Okay, very good.
That is correct. So, and to be specific, 19 left has an ILS today. 19 right does not have an ILS. So 19 right, 10 left, and 10 right. That's correct.
19 left. So when you talked about moving an airplane landing farther down the runway, which means the runway is now shorter, will they have to increase or use greater reverse thrust to stop?
That's a very good question. And the answer is we don't know yet. And to be very specific, we are not planning to put any of those procedures out at this time for our short-term development. And so that's like those are part of our Group 2 procedures. And when we do get to that phase, that is going to be one of the most important metrics that we want to include in our community flight procedure packages. Not only what do we think happens for the single event contours while they're flying, but exactly your question is what do we think the reverse thrust application would be? And I would love to get into that more in the technical working group because there's some pros and cons with the way the airport operates today in terms of keeping narrow body aircraft faster so that they can get past the ones quicker. And then basically exit the runways a little bit further away. But if it's okay, I'd like to bring that one up in the technical working group.
The reason, and you don't attend to many of these, but you'll know every time I open my mouth, I am talking generally about low frequency noise. And I think if we had more of the general public from Burlingame and Hillsborough here tonight, what they have found with the lengthening or shortening of runways is an increased amount of noise to those communities as well as to my community. So hopefully when you're testing this and as we're learning more about low frequency noise, we put in a testing protocol for that. And then my final question came, where is it here? That might actually have been my biggest question on there is generally, I think, my gut feeling is if you move the plane farther down the runway, there's going to be a greater increase in low frequency noise, and that's going to affect us inline communities. Oh, I know what it was. You're testing only noise. Our roundtable uses only noise and it's metric, but other roundtables around the country use emissions. My question is, with these different procedures, depending on how you brake or run the engine, it's not the CO2, which I think everybody alludes to greenhouse gases, but it's the other air pollutants and it's the microparticulates. So back to Councilwoman Hurt's question, as these flights come over East Palo Alto, North Fair Oaks, Foster City, on the typical arrivals, what is happening with microparticulates and NOx and SOx? Carbon is one thing, but
I'm taking notes. That's why I'm staring down at a notebook here. These are fantastic questions, and it's a huge part of the reason why we're excited to bring these procedures in front of this group here and to the residents. But I'm going to take the note here. The good news, I guess, maybe to your point, is because we're using the aviation AEDT version 3C, and we've been given access to some of the latest BADA models that give more accurate emissions profiles in addition to noise modeling. It wouldn't be hard for our team to generate that additional information. It isn't part of our CFPPs at this point, but if we learn, let's say our next opportunity to work with the technical working group, if we learn that that's an important metric, we can figure out how to get it in there potentially.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other member questions? And having none, then we will open it to public comment. Ms. Ms. Montes, you're on.
Thank you, Chairman Ortiz. So as a reminder, if you wish to speak on item 7, please raise your hand through the Zoom feature, which seems to be working now, thankfully. For anyone joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And we did not receive any written comments for this item, but I will pass to Janet for spoken comments.
Thank you, Angela. Like you mentioned, this is item number 7. If your hand is raised, your name will be called for this item. I will lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise your hand. And right now I do see 3 people on the line that have their hands raised. I will first call on Darlene. Darlene, please accept this request, unmute your microphone, and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes and will be notified when the time ends. Could you also please state the city that you're calling from? Thank you. Darlene?
Darlene Yapley from Palo Alto. Hi, Paul. The first question I have is, how can we get information in advance so we can look through it before we get to the TWG meeting? And second of all, how can cities get involved that are not on the San Francisco Roundtable? And third, and I think this gets to Councilmember Hurt's question also, some of the real larger benefits could be 5 years out if you can move some of the STAR procedures that affect some of the communities. And what can we do in advance? Because it takes a long time to make changes. So what can we do now to start working on that? Those are my 3 questions. Thank you.
Let's see, let me collect all the public questions, and then maybe we could spend a few minutes answering all of them. So can we move on to the next public comment, and then we'll let you answer. Take a few notes and we'll let you answer after the fact.
Yes, Chairman. Next we have Mary Jo Fremont. Mary Jo, please accept this request, unmute your microphone, and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes, and can you please state the city that you're calling from? Go ahead.
Mary Jo Fremont from Palo Alto. So I completely support the questions that Darlene raised. Nothing happened for a couple of years, and suddenly things are moving, which is great, but the devil is in the details. So I really encourage the SFO team to provide as much information as possible prior to any meeting to make it more efficient. And I have a couple of questions about this 5 to 10 nautical mile restriction that just showed up. I would like to understand where it's coming from. Is it coming from SFO? Is it coming from the FAA, and why? Because my understanding of GBAS a couple of years ago is you could start a GBAS approach 23 nautical miles away from the GBAS system. So that would be one question on this constraint, who, why, and who is doing that. The second thing is I would like to understand the glide slope on both runway 28 right and 28 left, and that is related also to a comment that Mark Schul made at the beginning. The original thinking from the SFO team 2 years ago was to increase the slope only on 28 right and nothing on 28 left, which means it would not help the majority of the San Francisco arrivals because you would not be raising any altitude on the GBAS approach. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we had one more comment.
Thank you. We now have Liz Lopez. Liz, please accept this request, unmute your microphone, and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes, and please specify what city you're calling from. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm calling from San Francisco. Paul Hanna mentioned that there will be opportunities for people to comment, and that they are relying on those comments to know who is affected, even from marginalized communities. I'm a little concerned because with NextGen, no one knew what was happening until flight tracks were moved over their home, even though there were opportunities to comment. And so in regard to environmental justice, when you're dealing with marginalized communities, you can't assume that people will know how to access the complicated process of making those comments. So I just wanted to make sure that members were clear that it's not that people are going to be receiving notices in the mail of being informed. I think it's up to the community, even communities who don't know how to access this information are just being expected to know what site to go to at the FAA and to know how to make these comments. So I just wanted to make that clear because that is how it worked with NextGen. But that's what I'm aware of anyway. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you. Next we have Sue Degree. Sue, please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes and please specify what city you're calling from. Sue?
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all the comments and questions by the board members and the public. So yes, it does, for those of you who have been on the board a while and for the new people, this does remind us a great deal of NextGen. NextGen was going to be the most wonderful thing ever. And then when it happened, the whole peninsula lit up with complaints. And so very, very concerned about GBAS. Hope the Roundtable really watches this very carefully. I really don't know how you can watch it really carefully, but seeing what happened with NextGen, we're still trying to fix things for our communities. And noise is a health issue. Very, very, very concerned about GPAS. And then I appreciate that, I mean, it's interesting to know that this is an airport thing and that they're willing to say no to what doesn't work for us, the public. However, you're putting in, did I hear this, infrastructure in 2021? That's like tomorrow. So those are just my comments for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I'll give it a few seconds to see if any more members raise their hand, but right now I don't see any.
Very good. Mr. Hanna, if you could keep your responses brief, we would appreciate it. We have a busy agenda ahead of us, so please go ahead.
I'll do my best. I wish I could record videos for some of these great questions that have come up, but so I'll go in reverse order if it's okay. So the first comment about the 2021 infrastructure installation. So you did hear us correctly. One of the really important distinctions between a GBAS and another NAVAID, like an ILS, is that the GBAS doesn't transmit anything that can be used by kind of any aircraft in the area. So the GBAS, even though it might be in the ground and it could be ready to function, until the flight procedures are physically published, which in this case next year is the overlay approaches, the ones that are intended to be identical to existing approaches, an aircraft doesn't gain anything from its existence. So if there were delays in the flight procedure publication, or in the future if our innovative procedures were found to be non-beneficial to the public, or were causing lots of noise, you can kind of basically switch them on and off in the GBAS shelter. I'm exaggerating, it's not quite that simple, but it is possible to do that. So I would just ask, we are trying to move ahead with the installation relative to the overlay approaches, but once it's in the ground, it's not like anything's going to change until those flight procedures actually get published and the first capable aircraft are there to fly them. But we will continue to update this roundtable on the progress that we make towards our installation and commissioning. I caught the comment about opportunities for commenting might be a little bit challenging if we're steering folks towards the website. Noted, and we'll be working very carefully with folks here on this to try to find the best ways to get those comments if we feel like we're not getting them. I'm going to go backwards a little bit more. The question about the glide slope or the glide path angles that are currently being considered for 28 left and 28 right. All of the innovative flight procedures that we'd like to review with the residents, the 28 left procedures involve a 3.20, and which is much higher than the current glide slope out there today. And the 28 right procedures are all 3.20 as well. So that's what we've kind of come out of the innovative GLS process with. There is a recognition that having 3.20 on the left and having 3.00 on the right may give us some opportunities to explore flipping the lead aircraft in a CASPER operation, but that isn't something that we've spent a lot of time discussing just yet in our technical flight procedures subcommittee. But it is something that we want the feedback on if that's something that we want to explore potentially in our second round of enhancements. The question about 5 to 10 nautical miles versus 23. So 5 to 10 nautical miles is what I would term to be the restriction imposed by current GLS approach design criteria. I'm trying to choose each of those words very carefully. So your recollection is right. It is possible to use a GBAS to create an approach procedure that augments the approach as far out as 23 nautical miles. There are some instances of this internationally. It's still the intermediate and the final segment of the approach that's actually being modified at that range. And generally, an aircraft is using RNAV to get up to that point. I'm sorry to be a little bit specific. So right now, in terms of our creativity and what the GBAS specifically is altering, it's really limited to 5 to 10 nautical miles. However, we've been given this opportunity by the FAA to change some of the heights on the preceding fixes. So we can bump things up just a little bit so long as it doesn't start encroaching on other traffic and we're not changing an arrival. The question about how do we start working on advanced changes to the stars, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of paraphrasing. So there's kind of two exciting things that have developed relative to the GBAS project. One, as I think was mentioned earlier tonight, is that the GBAS initiatives and some of the GLS approach procedures are reaching the national level of priority here within the FAA. And we're extremely grateful to all of our FAA participants who are helping us with this project to not only look at procedures, but also to evaluate these really enhanced air traffic initiatives like one that came up last summer, which was the multiple airport route separation concept, which is MARS. And this is where aircraft can be cleared to approaches kind of further away than they normally would, and they get reduced separation all the way into the runways. What that does from a noise perspective is it gives us kind of different corridors in the future that could be considered that put more aircraft kind of over the water or kind of get them grouped more closely together between Oakland and San Francisco and between San Jose and San Francisco. So the MARS project is an example, and the GBAS project, they're very closely gathered together, and our project team is continuing to work with the FAA at the national level to make sure that everybody knows we've got this GBAS. The airport wants to be first in line to consider these advanced airspace initiatives because we've got the GBAS and we've got this opportunity to do good and experiment in a safe way. City involvement for cities not on the roundtable, and I may have to defer to Bert and Doug on this one a little bit. Our presentation tonight was tailored to this roundtable and the technical working group because that's the next stop for us is to this roundtable technical working group. And we will be preparing information in advance of that meeting, so I'm not going to spring it on you. One of the things we want to know is when is the next technical working group so we can have everything ready and for review for folks who are there. But we are open to meeting with other roundtables in the Bay Area and other cities. I think we greatly enjoyed the opportunity specifically with Palo Alto in the past to come and present, and that's something we can do again. I don't know if I answered all of the questions, but hopefully I got to them all. I think that's most of them.
You've done a beautiful, beautiful job, so thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and that was a great presentation. And now, Bert, we still doing the new noise application presentation? Is that you?
That was my intent, sir, unless you...
No, absolutely not. I'm just
out of time.
No, go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
All right. So I have my colleague Lauren Teresi going to share her screen. There it is with us. And we'll go ahead and start the show running. I'm pleased to be presenting the options that are currently available to those wishing to file noise concerns with the SFO Noise Office. We looked at each method of contacting the noise office and are keeping the historical methods of reporting to us. Each method is reviewed to be sure that it was useful, provided the ability to get what you want to share with us for review. Following our look at what we had to offer, we saw that there were areas where we can improve. I'll introduce you to our new offerings. A few months back, we listened when our reporters let us know that it would be helpful to have the ability to file a noise report when using the WebTrack app while viewing flight tracks and noise data in near real time. The ability is now there to do exactly that. When one clicks on the airplane and brings up the detailed information window you can see on the screen, look in the lower left of that window and you'll see a comment bubble. When the comment bubble is clicked, a question appears asking if you would like to report this aircraft. On selecting yes, our simplified online noise report form appears pre-populated with the information for that flight, as you can see here. A few months back, wanting to go further and provide another resource that could be readily accepted, we've created a noise reporting app. This is available on our Submit Noise Report tab from our webpage under the smartphone hyperlink. Some may ask why we've done this. The answer is simple. We know that you like the StopJetNoise.net app. When we discussed this with the developer, Adam Worrell, he mentioned that he would like to sunset his app if a suitable replacement could be found. To do this, we felt the need to mimic the simplicity of StopJetNoise.net app, which is the prime reason that it's been so successful. As you heard earlier, it's so successful that it actually gives us approximately 98% of our noise reports through the app. We followed a robust support of an app that is supported by SFO, its vendor, and partner, EMS EnviroSuite, and you, the users, would be the ticket. Internally, we see no issues with the data that could hang us up getting into the system quickly, and it would not cause issues with our creating the monthly director's reports, as you saw earlier in the year. On the left, you see a screenshot of the StopJetNoise.net app. On the right, you see our Viewpoint Noise Reporting app. We both have person's name, the date and time of the event, and options for more information, as well as the notes. In the SFO Noise Reporting app, we've removed the mandatory fields that can slow the filing of a noise report. These are still available to you as an option if you choose to complete the form to express yourself and provide more information for us to work with. To get started and make the Viewpoint Noise Reporting app, we're finishing up the creation of a series of brief video tutorials. By clicking the link titled Instructional Videos, these will walk you through how to place the app on your screen for future use in both the Apple and Android devices, set up an account, how to submit noise reports, and how to view past reports and analytics. Though this app is geared toward usage for the phone and tablets, it's just as easy to use on PCs. And you can set up the app for future use just by bookmarking it. The last enhancement that we'll review today are the changes to our noise reporting hotline. This uses our current phone number and works in the integrated voice response system. The IVR recognizes your voice and fills out the information the office staff needs to work with. Your voice is converted from text and populates our noise report form. Our goal for the IVR is to replace the current hotline with an automated, more efficient system. Why, do you ask? We want to make the phone experience for our reporters easy and seamless, reducing the amount of time the noise office spends transcribing hotline complaints. This makes the staff able to research and report back on the noise concerns we receive and helping you. And while maintaining the ability to speak with a live person at SFO during office hours. The voice you may have heard it earlier in our video, you also heard on our noise portal, is going to be introducing our IVR.
Thank you for contacting the San Francisco International Airport Aircraft Noise Reporting Hotline. We will make every effort to respond to your inquiries in a timely manner. You may also use our online...
After an introduction, the IVR will ask you if you're a new or returning caller. New callers are asked for more information than returning callers. You'll be asked to provide your first name as well as your address. A few helpful tips that for your information enters their system accurately. When providing information, say only the information asked for. Avoid saying introductory phrases like, "My name is." For example, when asked for your first and last names, instead of saying, "My name is Jane Doe," only say Jane Doe. When providing address numbers, always say the numbers as individual digits. Instead of saying 701 as 701, say 701. Listen to all prompts. There's a final prompt asking if you would like to hear back from the SFO. Please do not hang up. Please do not hang up before this. You need to respond to it, otherwise your noise report will not be submitted. The link to find our webpage is flysfo.com/noise, where you can go to our file and noise report. And then to use our 24-hour IVR hotline, we have both local and toll-free numbers. And I return it back to the chair for questions.
Thank you, Bert. And members, do we have any questions? And I can't see the hands. I don't know what happened to.
Miss Davina Hertz, Councilmember Hertz, hand is raised.
Member Hurd, please go forward.
Hi, okay, I'll make it quick. This is an excellent tool, really thought out. So now my question is, what is the process after you receive this complaint?
The complaints, as always, go straight into our noise monitoring system. This will facilitate them getting in quicker, not quickie. And we'll be able to do the research on those that wish. The vast majority of the concerns that come into our system are people that only want to file. They don't want a response. So for those people desiring a response, we'll be able to respond a little faster to them.
When you say that you research,
yes.
What does that entail?
It's quite a variety of things. So if we're looking for a surge in complaints at a given time of night, if it's a area that's running an uptick in complaints, we're looking into those. We're also looking into given flights that may find the attention of more than just an individual.
And then after you do the research?
It depends. If we find one of the biggest ones we've had lately has been from Palo Alto and both Brisbane. Depending on the flight and where they are, we go ahead and respond to the FAA and the airline, as well as the city, asking if we can get more information, and then we'll go ahead and respond back to the city.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members? I do have a question, Bert. Could you just comment on how this is going to work with the FAA portal?
Right now, I was curious when that was coming up. As far as what we're looking at right now is the FAA has asked, are we willing to be a partner? And I think in general right now, yes, we are willing to be a partner. The question right now is how far out we want to, what radius we wish to respond within versus where the FAA responds. And so we're looking at pretty close to the airport, actually. And we're going to share all the data with the FAA if we become a partner. And that will allow them to give information back to us as well. So we're looking for some good outcome of this.
So I'm sorry, can I follow up with that? When you say we're looking to partner, again, they're talking about a portal. We don't know anything what happens after the noise complaints are received. So, which is fine, and they're developing it. So I would hate to think that we're going to stop doing what we do after the noise complaint is received.
No, the information will still come into SFO, to my understanding right now, and we will be bringing into our system, still be able to correlate, look at, check the data based on information in our ANOM system that we currently have, just as we always have. But as far as the response, that's where it'll be coming from a different entity, is my understanding.
So that the methods you use right now to collect the complaints will be replaced by the FAA's portal?
No. We would be sharing our data with them from our system.
Perfect. So the collection where we call that would remain even beyond. Okay, good. I feel much better.
The only difference, and it was brought up earlier by I believe it was Mr. Grace, was the stopjetnoise.net app. That's a third-party app outside the airport, and we already know that Adam Worrell would prefer to hang up the app if he can. I mean, it's an individual running this app for a lot of people. Personally, I think he's taking a lot of liability as well, but that's been his choice. And so if people are accepting of our app and the community groups come in with positive response, Adam Worrell said he would sunset his app and it would roll over to this.
Perfect. I have questions from Mr. Member Livermore.
Yeah, just to follow up on Chairman Ortiz's question. You know, it seems, Bert, that you're collecting a lot of really good information with this app, and that it would be a duplicate for the FAA to be collecting the same information, and the person would have to submit reports for both. And that seems like it would be automatically best for your stuff to go directly to the FAA. That's do you agree with that, or is there problems with that?
I don't have a problem at all with it, and that's what I believe. Right now, my understanding is we would share it on with the FAA.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Member Borgens.
Thank you. Forgive my naivety. I don't want to see us lose control of our ability locally to collect data, noise data, and reporting it. So I want to make sure that we do remain in control of our local data. Am I hearing that we won't lose control of that? Correct? I don't want the fox watching the hen house. Sorry.
That's my understanding, yes. No, our intent is to continue the collection.
Very good. Any other questions from members? And having none, we will go to...
Actually, Mayor Cecilia Taylor raised her hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Taylor. Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation, Bert. My concern is that I'm hearing, if I'm correct, that there are a few items that are going to need community outreach on. And so my concern is the overlap of that. And if there's a way, if things are going to be done one by one or all at once. So more a concern than a question. It's just how much information we're looking to do outreach on, community outreach on. Just listening to the woman that was calling from San Francisco, they're concerned about access and inclusion with information, and then outreach on that, outreach on the app that you just presented. So I'm just a little concerned about that and how we would roll that out, if it would be all together, independently.
Well, my hope is if the community groups are accepting, that Adam Worrell would not have a problem with putting our website out there with the noise app as the replacement. He would let people know what the sunset date is. And so they would have right on their app that they typically use where to go.
Thank you.
So, okay. Any other questions from members? Having none, then we will open it to the public comment.
Thank you, Chairman Ortiz. As a reminder, if you wish to speak for item 7, please raise your hand through the Zoom feature. For those joining by phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And we did not receive any written comments for this item. And we do have a few hands raised, so I will pass on to Janeth for spoken comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. This is a public comment for item number 7. If your hand is raised, your name will be called for this item. I will lower your hand after you speak. Those joining by telephone can press *9 to raise your hand. So right now, I do see 2 members of the public raising their hands. First, I will call on Darlene, followed by Liz Lopez. So Darlene, please accept this request. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes and will be notified when the time ends. And then please also specify what city you're calling from. Thank you. Darlene?
This is Darlene from Palo Alto. Bert, if you have an equal to or better mousetrap than stop jet noise, you have my full support. I would just like to say that there should be a little bit of a formal beta test or feedback. You mentioned community group acceptance, and I would be happy to organize community folks from different cities to make sure that they in fact feel that the tool is effective and then help with the change management. But I would like to, assure that we get a chance to really see if we can use this tool before it gets converted over.
Yeah, definitely. It's out there right now, and you can get to it through our website in the noise comment section. Item 2, it says smartphone. Just go right there. You go right into the app. And then once we've gone formal on it, it'll require a login. But for right now, it's open, and this is open testing.
But we can use our phone to do the.
You may. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And so we'll formally give you feedback. If we can set a time frame, maybe we can shoot to a deadline so that you get all the input you're looking for, and we don't miss the deadline. That would be great, Bert. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Darlene. Next, we have Liz Lopez. Liz, please accept this request. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes and will be notified when the time ends. Please also identify what city you're calling from. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Liz. I'm calling from San Francisco. I had a question about privacy and cookies being placed on my computer when I use this new noise complaint app. So basically, at what level am I going to be tracked on my computer or smartphone by SFO or a third party?
Initially not. When we get into the require a login, then there will be, and there's a full disclosure on that on the website.
Okay, so we will be tracked by a third party or SFO?
Just by SFO. We need to retain the data somewhat to be able to respond and log it in our system.
Okay, but it's just being tracked on when we're on the app itself.
Yes, and it will time out after a few months, and then I think it's a couple months. I'll check that for sure, and then once that period's gone, you have to come in as a new user.
Okay, and just to clarify again, it's just on the app itself. I'm not being tracked, like kind of like Facebook or Google does, like on all.
We're not interested in that at all.
Okay, I just want to double check. Thanks so much.
Name, address, phone number, that type of stuff, so that when you come in, we say, "Oh, hey, it's Liz Lopez."
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Next, we have Peter Grace. Peter, please accept this request. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Please specify what city you're calling from. Peter?
Hi, my name is Peter Grace. I live in Brisbane. I've got a question for you, Bert, and that is about functionality of the app. Currently, we get daily emails saying what flights are associated with which complaint can be helpful. So will this continue? Sadly, Adam Worrell also allows one to look at complaints by zip code, by month, number of complaints, number of complainers. That is also extremely helpful. Secondly, will that be allowed? When you showed the map for web reporting, is there any time lag between what is shown on the map and the actual flight and what's shown on the map? One is that flight radar. I can go to flight radar immediately and go and see which plane it was that is being picked up by stop jet noise, and then enter it manually. And hence my interest in what is the plane that is associated with the noise.
Oh, okay.
I'd also like to, support. And, I'm looking forward to testing this and working with you on this. And thanks for doing it. And I think we ought to also thank Adam Worrell for the incredible work that he's done in the past in getting to this point. So we have a simple system that's easy to use and good results. Thank you very much.
Sure. Our functionality, we believe, will be the same as far as the ability to see the complaints and correlations. That should be in a tracking history on the tool itself. So once you're in the screen, you can go to the left and see history. That's where you can see that information. As far as complaints by zip code, things like that, that's one we're looking at growing. Flight complaints by month, yes, you can do that. And then number of complainers. That is an issue that is being looked at right now by us. I believe the vendor has that ability. The big worry right now is privacy. We can't show others information at this time. If we get cleared on that by our legal, then we could possibly go there. But just like the rest of what we've been doing with the noise portal and everything else, our noise portal, not the FAA noise portal, but ours, this is for the public. Our intent is in having a vendor like this, we can grow it. And based on input, we can take it in different directions.
Thank you. We have Chairman Ortiz, we have Peter Grace raise his hand again. It's up to you, the discretion. Do you want him to speak?
Grace, it's getting kind of late, Mr. Grace, so I am going to limit you to, so please, you could submit your question either through the roundtable or directly to the noise office, and we can discuss it in the next meeting. But I do need to move forward. We still have quite a bit of the agenda ahead of us. So Bert, with that, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. I think it's a great, I've gone in there and played around with it, and I think it's fabulous. So I'm looking forward to any enhancements and any feedback from the community. So thank you for those who agreed to beta test it and give feedback to Bert. Thank you, Bert. Appreciate it. And with that, we will move on to item number 8. This item is a three-part. We're first discussing the 3-year fiscal audit of the Roundtable Trust Fund. Secondly, we're talking about the 2020-21 budget. And then Member Schneider and I will both be very happy. We will be seeking authorization to fund the ground-based noise initiative study. So that is near and dear, and we've been working really hard with the subcommittee on this one. So with that, I will put it back to Michelle if you want to take us away.
All right, thanks very much. So included in your packet is the memorandum on the budget adoption. And what the bylaws ask the Roundtable to do is to adopt an annual budget between May 31st and October 31st. So the item before you is to approve a 12-month budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021. And it will be essentially effective July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. And, I think I'm available to answer any questions. I think the key aspects of this budget that's available to you is to pay. So I think with that, I'll stop there, but I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, I know it's late, and I know nobody wants to talk about budget at this time of the night, but please, this has been a lot of work to bring our financials to where they are, and I want to once again thank Linda Wolin because she got the process started, and Michelle Rodriguez, who picked it up, and then Angela Montes, who they've all worked very hard on this and really brought us a long way in our reporting. And I'm very, very happy about this budget. So please, any questions from the members? Member Borgens, please.
Thank you. Real quick. Do we have any concerns whatsoever with communities that are struggling right now with their own budget due to the COVID crisis and so much cutbacks going on that they may not want to participate in, albeit this is a very small, minute part of their budget, it's still an expense. Has there been expressed at all?
Well, let me tell you what, we did have a discussion about that in the past, when we had a situation like this, we reduced the fees for a year or two, and that is definitely a possibility. At this point, we are not entertaining that, and we have not had any cities come to us asking for any sort of forbearance or any arrangement. So we're comfortable with the budget the way it is. And again, it's like you said, it's a very, very small part of each city's budget, but we are sensitive to that. We did have a lot of discussion, and we're all facing it. So we're all being very careful how we spend.
Thank you. Thank you. I would move the budget if you're looking for.
Well, let me give him just a second more to see if there's any other questions, but I don't see any raised hands. So what we can do is open it to members of the public to see if there's any questions from the public.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. For this item, we did not receive any written comments. And at the moment, we actually do not have any hands raised from the public either.
Yeah, the finance part is no fun. So with that, and Ms. Rodriguez, just make sure that I'm doing this correctly. We are voting on 3 separate items. No, just 2. The budget and the ground-based noise is included in the budget, so we really are just voting to approve the budget. Great. With that, I will accept Member Borgen's motion and looking for a second.
Second.
And I did not see who that came from.
That was Schneider.
Okay, thank you. So I have a motion by Member Borgens, a second by Member Schneider. And do we need to do a roll call on this one, correct? Thank you, yes. Michelle, you're on mute. You're on mute. Look good.
San Mateo County Board of Supervisor.
Supervisor Pine had to leave.
Are you, okay, so you're not his, it's Don Horsley. Okay. CCAG Airport Land Use Commission?
Yes.
Thank you. Town of Atherton. Town of Belmont.
Aye.
Thank you. Town of Brisbane.
Aye.
City of Burlingame.
Yes, enthusiastically.
City of Daly City. City of Foster City.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Half Moon Bay. Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Millbrae.
An enthusiastic yes.
Thank you. City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Portola Valley.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Redwood City.
Yes.
Thank you. City of San Bruno. City of San Carlos.
Yes.
I
Yes.
apologize.
Yes.
Thank you. City of
San Bernardino, yes.
Thank you. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco. City of Woodside.
Yes.
Thank you. Your motion passes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Very good. And thank you. Really, thanks all of you guys who worked so hard on this budget. I know it was a real problem, and I'm glad you straightened it all out and moved it. It'll make the future a little easier. So thank you. And with that, we will move on to item
9.
number 9. And the last time the roundtable completed a strategic plan for the period of 2015 to 2018 and an annual work plan of 2017-2018. We're going to introduce this item to initiate the formation of an ad hoc strategic plan, work plan committee. So I'm going to ask the coordinator Rodriguez to give us an overview of the process and the timeline.
Thank you, Angela. If we could please put up the graphic. Thank you very much. So this graphic is also included in your packet on page 56, and it essentially is showing that what we're proposing to do is a strategic plan for the roundtable that would take us through 2024. So it would include the long-range vision goals. And it, of course, would align with our budget, and we would be essentially updating the 2015 through 18 existing strategic plan. Also, the subcommittee would be asked to develop a one-year work plan. It would be for July 1, 2020 and through June 2021, and it would be annually updated thereafter to align with that strategic plan and, of course, the budget. And we would be updating the 2017 version. And I think we've already addressed the budget in general. It would be all aligned going down the road. So if you could go to the next chart, which is the outline of the meeting 1 and 2. What we're looking at, and this is on your package, page 55, is a 2-meeting format. And if approved to initiate the ad hoc subcommittee, Angela, can you switch to the agendas? Thank you. If you approve the development of the ad hoc subcommittee, we will, after this meeting, I've developed in conjunction with Angela and a survey that we will send to higher membership. And the survey is designed to look at your accomplishments and what from the old strategic plan you'd like to keep and what new vision and goals you might have. And it will also drill down into specific work items based upon what I've been hearing in a variety of interview input from the chair and other key folks that I've been meeting. You'll have an opportunity also to add your own work plan items. But what we'll be looking at is what is your top 10 things you'd like to focus on, given we've got 9 months left in this year, and then whatever else is remaining in terms of priority, I'll bring to the ad hoc committee, and you'll have an opportunity to develop this strategic plan, and then an immediate 1-year, 2-year, 3-year work plan, and then we'll bring that back to the entire committee to approve in whole. And so I'm hoping to conduct this in a 2-meeting format. As I said, we'll follow up if approved, both with the survey as well as a doodle poll with some specific days and times to meet. And each of those meetings should take about 2 hours. So it'll require some homework, but I'll do my best to try to facilitate the best I can. What this tentative agenda showed was SFO participating initially in the beginning. And that is because they're going through a strategic plan process as well. I didn't hear the director talk about it, but I was kind of hoping for a bit of overview about what strategically are they thinking about doing so that we can align with them, that maybe they're not along as
not just me frozen.
I might be Michelle because I can hear you. And
Yeah. I wonder if some of us should turn our video off if it's a bandwidth issue.
Let's try. Michelle, are you there? I think you're still frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen.
So isn't she was pretty close to the end of her presentation, but we need questions.
It's not that county Zoom problem they had today for the elected briefing, huh?
No, it's a different problem.
I think this is,
I think is she back?
I suspect this is her internet
Her
issue
own router.
Yeah.
because the rest of us
I'm
are.
available to answer any questions if there are so far, even though she
Well, why don't we, move forward? I mean, it is getting late and I don't know, you guys all need a break. You guys want to take a break while she gets back on?
I think we're basically almost.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That somebody texted me requesting a break, so I'm fine with let's just plow through. We're almost done.
Chair Ortiz, did you want to ask if people want to be on the committee or did you have a plan?
That is our
She's
next
there.
item.
She's back. She's back.
Michelle's back. Good. Okay, Michelle, we had moved on to questions. Are you okay with that? Did we miss?
Nope, we're
Nope.
good. We're gonna want volunteers, and that's it.
Okay, so first the motion to approve the subcommittee, and then we can get volunteers. So let's first create the subcommittee. So
Motion to approve the subcommittee.
Well,
Pardon
let's
me, Chair.
still need to open it to public comment, so we
Oh,
can't.
sorry.
Move there
Sorry.
yet. Any questions from members? Having none, we will move to public comment. So Ms. Montes. Angela, you there?
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Chair. So I actually did receive emails from about 4 public members that they wanted to speak on this item, but I am not seeing their hands. There we go. Here's Darlene. So we did not receive any written comments for this item, and I will pass it on to Janet for spoken comments.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I do see 2 hands raised on this comment. First, we'll call on Darlene, and next followed by Liz Lopez. Darlene, please specify what city you're calling from and accept my invitation to unmute your mic and begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes.
Darlene Yapley with Palo Alto. I believe based on your time frame, this is probably the only public comment we'll have before the subgroup comes back with their findings. So I wanted to give some input on the work plan survey. There's a couple other speakers that are going to speak, and I support what they're going to say, which was Peter, Liz, and Marie Jo. The 2 items that I wanted to cover is that consider bodega for one of the priorities. It's a procedure, Bodega West, that flies over many residential communities for miles. And in contrast, Bodega East goes over the bay. So previously it was a 70-30 split. We'd like to get it back to a 50-50 split. With COVID, it should also have a better opportunity to do that. So this needs attention. The second item to consider is GBAS, which you've all heard about. So I don't think I need to go into detail. The only item I would add, and Sue Digray kind of made me think about this, is you might consider thinking of doing some type of post-mortem review. So we can do all the planning we want, but then there's reality of what happens after it's implemented, so that there's still opportunity to do some mitigation if it doesn't turn out the way we all expected. So those are my 2 comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Next, we have Liz Lopez. Liz, please accept this request. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes, and please restate where you're calling from. Thank you.
My name is Liz Lopez. I'm calling from San Francisco. For the work plan, I would like to propose that the roundtable keep the existing item use of supplemental metrics and add review and improve noise reports. We have had previous roundtable meeting discussions on the need to tune the director's reports. Using supplemental metrics and tuning the reports would better inform the roundtable of the noise impacts, such as are things getting better or worse, what specific areas require attention, and are there potential actions that the SFO roundtable could pursue. Examples of items to review to create a better picture of noise impacts in the airport director's reports would be the inclusion of data from temporary monitors, the addition of supplemental metrics. We don't want to monitor the research on supplemental metrics. We want to use supplemental metrics in the director reports. For example, N above counts the number of aviation events above a certain level and reflects that concentration caused by NextGen that DNL does not capture. By the way, the FAA encourages the use of supplemental metrics. In the FAA's metrics report of April 2020, the FAA stated, While the DNL metric is FAA's decision-making metric, other supplemental metrics can be used to support further disclosure and aid in the public understanding of community noise effects. So please keep the item use supplemental metrics and consider adding review and improve noise reports for the work plan so the roundtable and the community can better understand the noise impacts and determine possible actions to take.
And just to be clear, the ad hoc committee will have public meetings so that these details can be hashed out at those public meetings. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry, there was one more speaker.
Yes. Next we have Peter Grace. Peter, please accept this invitation to unmute your mic and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes, and please go ahead and let us know what city you're calling from again.
Hi, my name is Peter Grace. I'm from Brisbane. This will be short. I'm looking for confirmation. I heard Chairman Ortiz say that noise methodology would be moved to the technical working group. Does this mean it does not need to be in the work plan? End of question. Thanks.
Mr. Grace, I would encourage you to attend the ad hoc committee meetings and propose it if it remains a top priority. We do plan to talk about it in the working groups, and my guess is that this will be resolved to general satisfaction. But that's just wishful thinking. So, Mr. Grace, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but did you have any further comment?
So how do we get it into the technical working group? Do I have to come to the work plan meetings?
No. That is already in our track, that we already know that's going to go in. So that you already did your job, Mr. Grace.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Good night.
Good night. Thanks. Okay. So any further public comment?
I don't see any more hands raised, Chairman. Oh, one more. I do see Mary Jo Fremont. Mary Jo, please accept this request to unmute your microphone and begin speaking. You'll have 2 minutes, and please identify what city you're calling from. Thank you.
Mary-Jo Fremont from Palo Alto. I will keep it short. It's great that we will be able to, at this public meeting where this work plan will be discussed, but to prepare members about thinking of priorities and important things, I'd like to mention a couple of things in terms of the procedures to pay attention to reduce noise. One is the server arrivals at night. That was a proposal that the Roundtable made in 2016. That was in a draft work plan in 2018, 2019. That draft work plan, I'm not sure if it was ever approved, but I don't think there was a disagreement. So that's something that I would urge the Roundtable to think again about, because it will help Foster City, Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and a whole bunch of cities further south. And the second one is the Parrot OPD. And the bad news with Parrot is it increased noise, it concentrated noise, and it shifted noise. We have now a new rail in the sky, which is not that anybody asked for it, but the FAA did implement it. And it affects many cities: Woodside, Portola Valley, Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and Palo Alto. And I just want to point out that it needs attention, because the noise complaint for Woodside after Parrot went up. They tripled. And Portola Valley noise complaints also went up by about 10%, and then I don't know what happened, but they doubled, more than doubled in January 2020. So if you look at these noise complaints, and they're important, one can really wonder if increasing the altitude over Woodside produced the intended result that people wanted. In fact, what we know is Parrot to make things worse for communities downstream, but it could also have made things pretty bad for Woodside and Portola Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So the question really for us tonight is, do we or do we not form the ad hoc committee? So without any further public comment, we're going to move, and any further comments from members? Having none, Janet? You're muted.
Yes. I would volunteer to be on this committee.
But first, let's create it. So let's vote on.
I'll create it. I
We can
move to
talk
create
about-
it. Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you. I have a motion
Yes.
on the floor. Anybody care to second it?
Terry O'Connell will second.
Thank you very much, Terry O'Connell. We have a motion on the floor by Member Borgens, second by Member O'Connell. With that, we will go to a roll call.
We have no Dave Pine, so no CCAG, Town
No,
of
I'm
Atherton.
here.
Oh, you are? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you last
That's
time.
okay.
CCAG, please.
Yes, would you repeat the name of the committee, please? I think I'm for it, but I'd like a little clarity.
Yes, it's the
Strategic Plan Ad Hoc Committee.
Okay, yes.
Town of Atherton.
Elizabeth still here?
Is Town of
No,
Atherton?
she left. She left.
We lost her.
City of Belmont.
Aye.
Thank you. City of Brisbane.
Aye.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
City of Daly City. City of Foster City.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Half Moon Bay. City of Hillsborough.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Millbrae.
Yes.
City of Pacifica.
Yes.
City of Portola Valley.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Redwood City. City of San Bruno.
Yes.
Thank you. City of San Carlos.
Yes.
Thank you. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco. City of Woodside.
Yes. Yes.
Your motion passes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now we have a strategic plan ad hoc committee, and I would love to have some volunteers. I heard from Member Borgen she would like to volunteer. So now go get reelected.
Yes. Yeah, that could be one little stumbling block. You're right.
So would anybody else be interested in joining the committee? And again, it's important because I think that tonight is when we spend all this time dealing with so many issues, it becomes really important that we can narrow our focus down so we can focus on less issues, and then we don't lose our quorum by the time the meeting's over. So I'd love to have some more. Member Schneider looks like she's a volunteer.
Yep. I'm in the same boat as Janet though too. So let's hope we have a good next 25 days or so.
And you also have some raised hands.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking. Okay, let's see. I have Member Taylor, please.
My question is, how many members to the committee?
You can have a minority of the majority, which would be, it'd be 12, I think. Maximum of 12, but that's probably going to be way too much.
Chair Ortiz, I think the last time we did this, there were about 8 of us, but that included some public members meeting down in Redwood City. It's been a while though.
Will there be members of the public on this one, or?
They weren't official members, but they were welcome to sit around a very small conference room.
Yeah, they're welcome to attend, and that's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier, that you guys will be having conversation. Member Taylor, we would love a representative from that part of the world, so.
I will volunteer.
Very good.
Thank you.
So much. And then, Anne, how about you? Just kidding. Okay, so we have 3 members right now. We can go and I can just call and make a few requests.
Member O'Connell's hand is raised as well. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry. Member O'Connell, please go ahead.
I was just raising my hand to say I would be on it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. So we have now 4 members.
And Mr. Chair, Supervisor Pine would like to participate, schedule permitting.
So we have 5 members right now. Michelle, did you have
6,
something?
including yourself.
6, including myself. Thank you. Very good. So we will start with 6 and we will twist some arms. maybe in St.
Thank
Carlos.
you. That's good.
And with that, we will move along. We have a committee. We can create a strategic plan. Now, I have a long paragraph to read here from General Aviation Noise, item number 10. We'd like to update members on some developments with respect to implementation of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018, specifically sections 188, 173, and 173, which call for the FAA to evaluate alternative metrics to the current average day-night level standard. On April 14, 2020, the FAA submitted a required report to Congress on the evaluation of alternative metrics, and a few weeks ago, Congress responded to Steve Dixon, Administrator of FAA. Kathleen Wenworth, Senior Advisor of Congresswoman Jackie Speer, is here to provide the roundtable with an overview of the September 23rd letter from certain members of Congress included in your packet on page 58. Ms. Wenworth. Kathleen. Oh.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to be extremely quick. The packet of the original report is in your packet. The letter from 29 members of Congress complaining and objecting to the report is in your packet, and that letter was signed by Congresswoman Speer as well as Congresswoman Anna Eshoo. When this was initiated by the 2018 Reauthorization Act, the mandate was to evaluate alternative metrics to our current DNL standards. And the report also incorporates the other mandate of an ongoing evaluation of alternative metrics to the 65 DNL standard. The FAA response report was, well, let me just tell you the article titles from two media that covered this. One was reporting on this report saying, the FAA sidesteps congressional mandate to evaluate alternative noise metrics. The other media one I title is FAA's report on alternatives to the DNL noise metric is tone deaf. Many members of the community feel that, as well as the members who signed the letter, of course, that this report was totally inadequate and absolutely sidestepped the issues that they were mandated to report on. The part of the letter I liked was the part where it said that we insist that the FAA return to the drawing board and meaningfully evaluate alternative metrics to the current DNL 65, not just dismiss or ignore them, and include the potential for the use of such metrics in the United States. As of late today, when I checked back to Washington, D.C., the FAA has not responded to the letters from the members of Congress. I'd also like to just briefly talk about another report from the FAA that has had attention ever since it was first noticed in a press release in 2015, and that's the Noise Annoyance Survey. And some of you who are not used to hearing about this would kind of scratch your head and say, Noise Annoyance Survey? They have to do a survey about why noise annoys me? I don't think so. But nonetheless, in 2015, the FAA undertook a study that was to be a 2-year study to phone up people around airports and say, hi, is it noisy there? Does it bother you? Somewhat in a more substantial scientific way, of course. The report was expected to have collected its data, processed it, and be ready to publish at the end of 2017. At that time, it wasn't published. And it wasn't published by the time the FAA reauthorization took place in 2018. And so as part of that FAA reauthorization, the bill included a mandate that noise annoyance survey be published by October 5th, 2020. As I looked at my calendar yesterday, I realized that October 5th had come and gone. So I contacted our regional administrator and asked about it. And her response I received today was that we understand that many people are interested in the research. The FAA expects the report to be released soon, but we don't have a specific date. After its release, we plan to engage with stakeholders to discuss and explain the survey and take comments and questions. So again, we're waiting. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ricardo, you are muted.
You probably didn't hear what I said, but I said thank you very much, Kathleen, for everything. That was wonderful. And moving on, is there any questions from members for Ms. Wentworth? Having none, then we will open it for public comment. Ms. Montes.
Thank you, Chairman Ortiz. As a reminder, if you wish to speak, you can raise your hand through the Zoom feature or *9 if you're calling by phone. And we did not receive any written comments, and we do not have any hands raised.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Wentworth. We appreciate it. Appreciate all you've done for the roundtable. So with that, we will be moving on to item 10B, which is an update on aviation noise issues for Mr. Justin Cook from HMMH. You're on.
Okay. All right. Just a few items. One, IFP gateway reviews. Nothing of importance to report back to you. Our reviews are in your packet, so feel free to take a look, but nothing really to mention here this evening. In terms of noise news, just a few I guess highlights from the newsletter. One on responses received by the FAA for the NPRM supersonic aircraft noise certification standards, which we've discussed before. There was nearly 270 responses that were received with relatively mixed responses. However, more than 60 environmental organizations called for the withdrawal of the proposal. We also discuss in there GAO report on the phase out of stage 3 aircraft. The GAO report actually found that most commercial aircraft are certified as stage 3, and 96% of those could actually meet the more stringent stage 4 or stage 5 noise standards. So that is, if they were to go back and get recertified, they would meet those standards. Lastly, HMH has been doing some ongoing research, looking at trends and changes in operations, noise, and complaints for airports throughout the country. And so we present some preliminary results of that in the newsletter. And this is really analyzing pre-COVID and during COVID timeframes and comparing those different components. Specifically, we've seen CNEL, DNL cumulative noise levels drop by more than 5 dB for just airport noise, and community noise levels drop on average by more than 2 dB. And you could see those fluctuations within the various airports that were analyzed, and we're still conducting that research. And that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I found my cursor. So thank you very much. Ms. Rodriguez, you had something?
Justin, did you just want to mention the training that you all are going to be doing, and maybe I could send that to everybody?
Oh,
because
sure.
There might be some constituents that want to go to that.
Sure, we are. HMH has available right now an airport noise control practices training course. I believe it's 6 parts, but you can individually sign up for each session by session if one interests you over another. It's also, at a reduced cost. And then there's a actual full course cost that comes with a certificate of completion, and that's available right now on our website. So I'd be happy to share that with you. Thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up. And with that, any members have questions? I see one hand raised, member Hurt.
Thank you. I'll make it real quick. On the supersonic, you said there were 270 responses and they were mixed. Could you send over those responses? I actually sit on the BACMed board, as some of you guys know, and I brought supersonic claims up to them, and it's not on their radar at all. And so I'd like to land there, for lack of a better word, coming to me right now. So any information you have on those environmental groups that responded, it would help me a lot if you would forward it.
Sure, I could provide more detail. Not a problem.
And thank you for the other email you sent. I saw it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Justin? Having none, we will move to public comment. Ms. Montes.
Thank you. We did not receive any written comments for this item.
Very good. So with that,
we do not have any hands raised. Sorry, Chair. We do not have any hands raised.
Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Sorry. So with that, we will move on to our next item, which is member communications or announcements. So members, anybody have any communications or announcements? And you know what, before we go, I do want to clarify, Ms. Rodriguez, you said the committee, the ad hoc committee is actually not a public meeting. Is that what you would?
The ad hoc committee does not qualify because it's temporary for the Brown Act and does not necessarily require public attendance. Public can attend the December meeting, but if it's the will of this group to do that, then it can be available. I might have to think a little bit more about the time and whether we can do it in 2 hours with public comment, but it's really the choice and the will of this group.
Okay. So I just want to get an idea from especially the people who did sign up for this. Should it be open to the public for comment? It's an ad hoc committee, doesn't have to be, but.
So this is Janet. I don't have any problem with that. I just would respect that if the comments could come in before the meeting, maybe we could see them, but to actually, or very limited, we need to stay focused on getting something done. So although I appreciate the information that we would receive, and it could be possibly helpful, we need to take control and limit what that looks like. So
what we'll do then is send out a request for written comments ahead of time so that we can help set that up. So I apologize, that was my misunderstanding. So we will move forward with that. With that, any comment, any communication, any announcements from members? I have one of Member Schneider. I see your hand raised.
Actually, mine was more for the previous item. I think, hold on here. I think Darlene attended our last work plan meeting, and I appreciate getting the comments that they might like included in the work plan ahead of time, but sometimes as discussion goes, and I think this discussion might go as to better location of monitoring devices, and I think the Palo Altans have quite a bit to say about that. And so I guess I'm a little bit more open to a little bit of public comment, but I will tell you, when we worked on this the last time, it took more than one meeting.
So I'm going to chime in if I may. Chair Ortiz.
Please.
This is Terry O'Connor. I relish that all the members of the public make their priorities known to us, but I think that it's more to get a very overview of a work plan and bring it back to the board for approval. So in the in the limiting time, we would want an overview, not really a specific view.
Not detailed.
So I would be more in favor of limiting to written comments that can be easily digested and brought back to the whole committee.
Okay, it sounds, especially from the members of the committee, that is the better way to go. I see Member Schneider's comments, but
No. I can live with that. I just, as we're all dealing with transparency in this new world, we're much more transparent, I think, than we used to be, because you don't have to travel to get to someplace. But
true.
Let's see. If we are at the high level, I think it'll work out fine. If we end up in more details, then I think some of our public are very bright and bring in really good points.
And I think the fear is that we will end up too far in the weeds versus having an overall strategic plan. So with that, we're going to go with a closed meeting. So for those members of the public that are still on, we encourage you to send us written comments to tell us what your thoughts on this, and I know that we will receive a few. And I will personally reach out to some of the other people who are not still online and let them know that that's the way we're going to handle it. And with that,
Chair Ortiz, one tiny comment. Sorry to interrupt. Looking at where we are all at geographically, we don't have a COSIDE representative, and I know we will all try to speak for COSIDE people, but we may want to consider that. I know Half Moon Bay has felt frustrated, but just want to make sure COSIDE feels the love.
I would encourage you, if you have any contacts, that you pick up the phone and encourage them to join the committee, because I think
I will do my best.
That is an important comment, and I appreciate that. So with that, any comments or communications? Last call.
Just taking the hint from Ann, I can join the committee.
I didn't want to put you on.
Since I'm the only co-sider on this call, on this committee, that comes. I mean,
Good. We didn't want to hurt your arm.
Don't feel the pressure.
It's okay. I feel the love.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mike. So did you say you are volunteering to be on the committee? Perfect. You don't have to drive over the hill. It's all virtual. So
yeah.
I think I have to buy him a glass of wine the next time we can have a Council of Cities dinner.
That sounds good.
Nice. I missed that, I tell you, that's for sure. Well, anyway, thank you all very much. Thank you all for staying up this late and missing the debate. And Michelle, welcome. Linda, once again, thank you. Angela and Janet, thank you for everything. Once again, a smooth meeting. Members of the public, you guys know more about this than we do, and it's great to have you. So thank you very much. My short timer friend still make me cry. Thank you all very much. And with that, the meeting's adjourned.
Good night, you guys. Keep safe.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.